Chapter 62. Miri answered unhappily, "That man is Madanzo's friend. Before he left, he told me that if that man came to visit, I should stay at home and treat him well until he came back. Madanzo has been gone for so many days. I just wanted to borrow some money from him." "Why did you call so many days ago?" Enoch said, "Business hasn't been good lately. I just bought a lot of goods and I'm a bit short of money. I just got some money, so I sent it to you." Miri said, "How can business be bad if you bought a lot of goods? I've always paid you back when I borrowed money from you. Didn't Madanzo pay you back as soon as he came home?" Enoch said embarrassedly, "Sister, I heard that Madanzo has been gone for a long time this time. He hasn't come back even after the agreed time. This has never happened before. He hasn't been out for more than a year. I know that his business isn't very safe. I'm afraid the situation has changed this time. Don't tell me something happened to him and he can't come back. You're married now. It's not a good idea to borrow money from your family all the time. If something really happens, I advise you to think about yourself." Miri's face changed. The more she thought about it, the more uneasy she became. She said with a straight face, "I just wanted to borrow money from you. Why do you have so much to say?" Enoch said, "Sister, I'm just thinking about you. You used to be the most beautiful girl on the street, but you married Madanzo, the son of a poor family. Their last shop was used as a betrothal gift. Now all they have left is this old house. If Madanzo can't come back, are you going to sell the house or rent it out? I've heard what the neighbors are saying. You're still young and beautiful, but you're living with the unreliable Madanzo. Don't you think about your own future? What's wrong with that man? You asked me for money but you let him stay at home. Is he Madanzo's friend or a creditor? Or is he someone to you?" The more they talked about, the more Miri felt like she had lost her backbone. No one knew what she was thinking, but she whispered into her brother's ear, "That young man named Aman is very rich, but he doesn't want to expose himself on the road. When he came, he was wearing thin old clothes, and his shoes were broken and covered in mud. Later on, he stayed in the best room in the inn and went to the tailor's shop to buy expensive fur coats. When my maid went to fetch the coat, he even paid 2 gold coins for it." Enoch was shocked. When did Madanzo make such a generous friend? Do you know who he is? Since you're so rich, why are you wearing shabby clothes on the way here? Is there some secret you don't want others to find out? Miri finally told her brother what she had found today. There were a lot of parangons and gold coins in the money bag that Aman had left in the room, enough to buy a house bigger and better than the ancestral homes of the nobles in the king's city. Enoch's expression changed. "Take me to him. Oh my God, is he a fugitive? If something happens to Madanzo and you take in a criminal in your house, you'll be in big trouble." The siblings went upstairs and looked through Aman's things again. Enoch saw the money and the damask steel cane disguised as a tree branch. When they went downstairs, Enoch wiped the sweat off his face and said in a low voice, "This man must be an outlaw. I can't believe that Madanzo would let you take care of such a person." Miri was also scared. "He has a keepsake of Madanzo's ancestor. It's said that it was left by a magician. Do you think he's a magician?" The legend of the ancestor was a family secret, but Madanzo had mentioned it to his wife. Miri would naturally keep the family's secret, but she couldn't help telling Enoch about it today. The two talked for the whole afternoon and confirmed a few things. First, Aman was an illegal black market merchant. He was very rich and carried a lot of money with him. Second, Aman came to the king's city alone. No one knew who he was, why he came, or when he would leave. At the same time, they suspected that something had happened to Madanzo and that Aman might be a magician. The more Miri thought about it, the more scared she became. Enoch whispered something in her ear. She was so scared that her face turned pale. She waved her hands and said, "I wouldn't dare. I'm just a woman. How could I do such a thing?" Enoch encouraged her, "My dear sister, don't be afraid. Just do as I say. I'll take care of the rest. As long as he could find a chance to trick him to a remote place in the suburbs, no one would know where he went anyway. Metatro is definitely not coming back. What kind of life do you want to continue? Miri stammered, what if Madanzo comes back and asks about it? Enoch shrugged, that's easy. Just say that Amon thought that Madanzo would never come back, so he seduced the maid and molested you. He has been driven away. You're such a beautiful and charming woman, and he's a young, single man with a lot of money. It's normal for something like this to happen. Bribe Fossa first. She and I will testify for you. Besides, if we succeed, do you still need to live with Madanzo? Miri lowered her head and said uneasily, if Amon is really a magician, and the plan fails. Enoch clenched the corner of the table, blue veins throbbing on his forehead. He gritted his teeth and said, fails? Does he dare to expose himself? Once he does, he will run away from the king's city. Don't forget that I'm also a warrior. How old is he? Even if he is a magician, how powerful can he be? If a mage is ambushed by a warrior, he won't be able to escape. Miri exclaimed and covered her eyes with her hands, don't mention assassination in front of me. Don't make it sound so scary. But what if he finds out that you have a weapon with you? What if he gets suspicious? Enoch squinted his eyes, how can I go on a picnic without a knife? I'm a warrior, so it's normal for me to carry a weapon with me. How can he be suspicious of us when we treat him so warmly? If he was wary of you, he wouldn't have stayed at home for so long. Before that, I suggest you ask Fossa to get close to him. It's best if she can seduce him into bed and find out more about him. That way, we'll be more confident. Some people say that there are always new things under the sun. It's up to your eyes to see them. Others say that there is nothing new under the sun. It's always possible to see a familiar shadow. Amon had only gone out for a day. He didn't expect that Miri and Enoch had already planned to murder him for his money. He had a similar experience in Som, but this time, the location and the people were different, and it happened in a different form. He went to many places in the capital and saw many things that he had never seen before. He bought gifts for his maid Fossa and the coachman. After thinking for a while, he bought a lot of winter necessities for Metatro's family from the big shops in the capital. He packed them all in the carriage and brought them back to the capital. When he got home, he ran into another guest, Enoch, Miria's brother. Enoch was smiling. His smile was a little unnatural, but his attitude towards Amon was warm and respectful. He said that he had heard that Madanzo's friend and teacher had come to visit him, so he came to visit. He told Amon not to be too polite and that he wanted to find an opportunity to entertain him. Although Amon was a little surprised by Enoch's graciousness, he didn't think too much about it at the time. But when he got back to his room, he found that something was wrong. Someone had touched his things. The twig and the staff had moved a little and left a mark on the floor. His money bag was still in his leather pocket, but it was obviously not in its original place. His old clothes had also been opened and folded. Obviously, someone had taken the opportunity to search through his belongings and count the parangons and gold coins while he was away. What was the purpose of this? Amon didn't want to offend or embarrass everyone, so he packed up his things and decided to leave. He hadn't seen Madanzo come home for a long time. Did something happen to him on his way home? Amon had the same concern, but he would leave some money for Miri and leave a message for Madanzo before he left. So he went downstairs to have dinner. In terms of calmness, few people could compare with Amon, a young miner from Duk. Miri didn't notice anything unusual at all. That night, Enoch had dinner with Amon. He ordered a servant to bring him wine and kept urging him to drink. He was very enthusiastic and talked more and more as they drank. Enoch talked about many things in the world and asked about Amon's experiences in different places. He also expressed his sincerity to treat him well and apologized for not visiting him because he was too busy with business. He also told Amon that Fossa would accompany him to have fun in the city for the next few days, and that he would invite Amon for a trip outside the city in a few days, bringing him good food and wine. There was a place with beautiful scenery and environment that he would go there several times a year to relax. Aman took the opportunity to say, "I'm sorry to disturb you for so long. It's time for me to go. If Madanzo comes back, tell him that I've been here and he wants to learn some skills, he can go to Link. He'll understand. If you have any difficulties or needs, I will help you solve them as a token of appreciation for your hospitality." Hearing that Aman was leaving, Enoch winked at Miri. Miri grabbed Aman's arm and tried to persuade him to stay for a few more days. Maybe Madanzo would come back soon. Since he had already waited for so many days, why should he wait for a few more days? She then asked if she had done anything wrong that dissatisfied him. If so, Metatro would definitely scold her when he came back. She looked like she was about to cry at the end of the conversation. There were many things in the world that were hard to explain. If Aman had left that night, perhaps none of this would have happened. However, Aman stayed despite the pleading because Enoch had a suggestion. In 2 days, Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, would leave the king's city and return to his own city. There would be a grand farewell ceremony. The king had ordered the citizens to celebrate and there would be no curfew that night. The city would be very lively. It was not easy to attend such a grand event. Enoch could leave the city with the revelers and have a picnic. He could also see Aman off. Thinking that he might be interrogated at the city gate before he left, Aman agreed to leave in 2 days. As for the picnic, it would be his farewell. He would leave some parangons for Miri. This woman had looked into his purse, but perhaps without malice, perhaps only curiosity. He was grateful for her hospitality, and if anything were to happen to Metatro, he should take care of his family. After dinner, Aman went to bed. Not long after he returned to his room, there was no sound. He must have fallen asleep. He must be tired after playing all day. Miri quietly called Fasa to her room. She closed the door and whispered, "Fasa, it was because your family owed money, so you became my servant. Do you want me to return the contract to you? And Enoch said today that he likes you very much. He wants to marry you and make you his favorite concubine. My family is much more comfortable than here." Fasa was overjoyed. "Merciful mistress, of course I want to. Is what you said true?" Miri nodded, "Of course it's true. But it depends on what you do." She bent down and whispered in Fasa's ear for a long time. Fasa's face turned red and white. Sometimes she frowned, sometimes she gritted her teeth. Finally, she nodded. Miri patted her on the shoulder. "Remember, do as I say. Seduce Aman. Make him fall in love with you. Try to find out more about his wealth and trust you completely. You don't have to do any chores at home these days. Just play with Aman in the capital." She thought that her words would not enter the ears of others, but Aman heard it clearly. It wasn't Miria's fault for being careless. In fact, no mage would use detection magic for no reason. Aman didn't want to waste his or her magic power on something that didn't make sense. All this time, Aman had never used detection magic to spy on Miri. It would be impolite to do so. But since something like this had happened today, he was more vigilant and overheard such a shocking conversation. Miri told Fasa to seduce him and find out more about his wealth. She also told him to take him on an outing in 2 days to attract his attention. What was more frightening was that Miri told Fasa to tell a lie. If Madanzo came back in the future, Fasa would testify that Aman had seduced her and tried to molest Miri. He would be too ashamed to come back after being driven away. Obviously, Miri meant that he would never see Metatro again. Something else must have happened, and it wasn't this maid's doing. Did she want to kill him and make him disappear forever? Aman felt a chill, but he didn't want to take revenge on Miri. Let her and her servant daydream. Aman decided to leave Madanzo's mansion tonight without saying goodbye. Just as he was about to pack his things and leave, he saw someone outside the mansion. Aman was scanning the surroundings with detection magic and happened to notice it. Madanzo finally came home. He had gained a lot this time. Link's tribe was hit by a flood at the foot of the mountain. After the flood subsided, they collected a large amount of high-quality damaserite sand from the pool where the king Ironback lived. What surprised him even more was that Amon had subdued the king Ironback and 4 other Ironbacks and made them the guardian beasts of the tribe. This was Amon's miracle. Although Madanzo didn't see Amon, he admired him even more. In order to wait for the tribesmen to smelt the sand into damaserite, and to pester Link to teach him magic that he had never learned before, Madanzo stayed in the tribe for a month longer than he had planned. Then he carried his heavy luggage and set off on his way home. This time, he brought only damaserite sand, which was worth several parangons. He was very happy. Amon was so generous and generous. Before he left Link such a precious staff. Madanzo was so envious that he drooled. Link told him that Amon was traveling the continent and would probably come to Babylon City to find him. Madanzo was also eager to see Amon. Although he came home a little late this time, he told his wife that he would keep Amon and treat him well until he came back. There were many interesting places in the king's city and so many new things that couldn't be found in the mountains. Amon would definitely have a good time there. Madanzo entered the city just before it was dark and the city gate was about to close. He first found a black market merchant who bought damaserite and sold his bag of goods for 2 parangons and a dozen gold coins. Both he and the black market merchant were very happy. They went to a tavern and had a drink together. Then they walked home with light steps, humming a tune. It was completely dark now. She hadn't seen her husband for so long, and this time she had made so much money. She would be so happy that she would scream and jump into his arms. Madanzo thought to himself. After turning a corner into an alley, he saw the main gate of his mansion. Matatro naturally quickened his pace, but he suddenly stopped and grabbed the hilt of the sword at his waist. His other hand clasped a parangan in his bosom. He felt that someone was staring at him from behind. That person was standing in the shadow under the high wall. "Don't be afraid, Madanzo. It's me, Amon." A familiar voice suddenly sounded. Madanzo let go of the hilt and was overjoyed. He turned around and strode to the voice. "My God, Amon. Why are you here? You gave me a fright, but it's the biggest surprise. Did you just arrive?" "Coincidentally, I'm on my way home. Please follow me." Madanzo walked up to Amon and bowed to him. Then he took his arm and was about to lead him home. Amon grabbed his wrist. "No, don't worry. I've been living in your house for the past month. I just saw you coming back. To be honest, I've decided to leave quietly tonight." Madanzo was surprised again. "Why? Could it be that someone has neglected you? Is there something wrong?" As he spoke, he noticed that Amon had used a simple and ingenious space concealment magic to block the sound of the surroundings. Their figures were also blurred in the shadow under the high wall. Amon could leave without saying goodbye to Miri, but he had to make it clear in front of Madanzo. He didn't owe Madanzo anything, and he didn't want Madanzo to be deceived after he left. Miri, Enoch, Fasa, and the others might say something. Amon decided to tell the truth. He wanted to see how Madanzo would react. If Madanzo was not worth talking to, then there was no need to talk to him anymore. "It's not convenient to talk here. Come with me quietly. I have something to tell you." Amon waved to Madanzo and left the alley. Madanzo was confused, but he followed Amon without saying anything. They walked through several blocks and found a big inn far away. Amon asked for the best room in the inn. There was a separate hall outside the bedroom. He closed the door and asked Madanzo to sit down. He took out a few parangons and set up a magic circle to isolate sound and magic waves. Then he took out the taroculus and put it on the table. He pointed at it and said, "Listen to it yourself." Madanzo heard 2 people whispering to each other. It was the conversation between Miri and Fasa. Amon also paid attention to it. He used message magic to record the conversation in the taroculus. Of course, Amon was not as skilled as Crazy Ol, but as a 5th-level mage, he could still record a short conversation. The Taraculus, which had been personally refined by Crazy Ol, was the best medium to perform this kind of magic. Madanzo's face changed. He stood up with his sword and was about to rush out. Amon put his hand on his shoulder and said, "Don't be impulsive. I just want to tell you what happened. I don't want you to do anything. It's useless to blame them now. No one will admit to this. I just want to leave quietly before it happens." Madanzo turned around and suddenly knelt in front of Amon. "Ammonius, please forgive me." Amon reached out to help him up. "Why do you say that? It's not your fault." Madanzo didn't get up. He lowered his head and said, "If you leave like this, I don't know how I can face you again. Leaving is a relief for you, but it has become a shackle for me." Amon said, "It didn't happen, and it may not happen. It's just their imagination. Many people may have all kinds of crazy ideas. It's not an unforgivable sin. It's just the temptation of the devil." Madanzo said, "In that case, let me see the devil's true face. My Ammonius, can you promise me one thing? Otherwise, my heart will never be at peace." Amon looked at him with a questioning look. "What is it? Say it." Chapter 63. The world under the sun. After breakfast, Miri tried to persuade Amon to go out again. She asked Fasa to accompany him and gave Fasa a lot of pocket money. She said to Amon, "You didn't have to be so polite yesterday. If you need anything, just tell Fasa." Fasa held Amon's arm tightly, almost sticking to his side. She smiled and said, "The capital is very large. Many gardens are open to the common people. There are all kinds of peddlers and acrobats. It's very lively. I'll go with you today." Amon smiled and nodded. "That's good. Thank you." Amon spent another day playing in the city. The king's city was indeed a dazzling place for the children in the mountains. Since he was already here, he decided to make the best of it. He asked Fasa about all kinds of interesting things and things that he had never seen before. On the way, he said to Fasa, "It's so busy here. My eyes are almost dazzled. Now that I'm in the capital, I feel that there are so many beautiful things in the world. Here, everyone can see what they want. But under the gaze of the gods, you have to know what you are doing." He was walking through the square in front of Marduk's shrine with Fasa's arm when he said this. He wondered if Fasa understood. After dinner, Miri called Fasa to her room and asked, "Did you find anything new today? What else does Amon have on him? Is there anything particularly noteworthy?" Fasa thought for a moment and said, "When I was walking in the square and watching the acrobats, I put my body against him and felt a long, hard thing under his clothes." Miriam blushed and spat at her. "How could you touch him in the square? I asked you to seduce him, but you can't. Even if you can't wait until we go home, you can do it in the carriage. Can't you?" Fasa also blushed. She quickly explained, "Madam, you misunderstood. It's not a man's private part. It's a long, hard thing under his ribs. It must be very precious for him to keep it so close to him." Miri was curious. She nodded and said, "Well done. But why didn't you go with him? Why did you let Amon rest in his room?" Fasa lowered her head and said, "Amon refused my request to make his bed and wash him. He said he doesn't like to be disturbed when he's resting." "Madam, am I not charming enough?" If Fasa knew that Yunamna had seduced Amon, she would know that Amon's seduction was much more clever than the seduction of a little maid like her, but Amon didn't think that she should have feelings for him. How would she feel? Miri looked at her sideways and said, "No, you're very attractive. Maybe it's because you're Metatro's maid that he feels a little embarrassed. I'll talk to him tomorrow." Miri looked at Miri. The next day, Miri said to Amon in private, "Fasa admires you very much. If you don't mind, you can let her serve you. You can ask for anything." Amon smiled politely and nodded, "Thank you. I understand." I'm happy enough that she can accompany me to the capital. How can I ask for more? When you look into your heart, you need to know what you are thinking, what you want, and what you deserve. Just like everything we do, we should take the consequences. Miri didn't know how much Fasa understood, but Aman didn't bring her to his room. On the third day, when Gilgamesh was about to leave the capital, a grand parade finally arrived. Gilgamesh stayed in Babylon city for a long time this time. Some people even speculated that he was taking the opportunity to marry Princess Sisela. But Princess Sisela didn't return to the capital, so the speculation was disproved. Gilgamesh sat under a splendid umbrella on the carriage and left amidst the cheers of the people in the city. The king sent the palace guards to escort Gilgamesh out of the city gate for 10 miles. This was a supreme honor, and only a hero like Gilgamesh was worthy of such an honor. The people who worshipped heroes escorted Gilgamesh even further. The procession stretched for 30 miles. Today, the king had ordered that there would be no curfew at the city gate, so everyone could party to their heart's content. Aman also left the city in the Madanzo family's carriage. The driver was Enoch, Miriam's brother. Aman took everything with him and was about to go home. The carriage was loaded with wine and food. Fasa held Aman's arm and snuggled up to him. She used the other hand to lift the curtain and introduce the scenery along the way. 10 miles out of the city, the carriage left the official road and turned into a wild road among the hills. It was a bit cold in the early winter, but the sun was shining brightly today, which was perfect for an outing. Wearing warm fur coats and enjoying delicious wine and grilled steak in a beautiful place, it was a rare leisure time for people living in a big city. Plants withered in the winter. The yellow color of the wilted mountains looked interesting in the bright sunshine. The sky was blue, and the wind was gentle. The carriage stopped by a lake surrounded by hills. The withered grass was softer than it was in the summer, and it was more comfortable to sit on. Enoch was dressed as a warrior and wore a short sword on his waist. He could use it for both self-defense and cutting meat during meals. The carriage stopped on a grassy area on the hillside facing the sun. It was a good place to enjoy the scenery of the lake and the mountains, and it was also a good place to hide from the wind. It was surrounded by forests on 3 sides and a lake on the other. There was no one around. Enoch unloaded the wine, meat, table, stove, and other things from the carriage. Aman also helped. Miri put away the tableware, and Fasa went to fetch water from the lake with a jug. When everything was in place, Aman looked at the blue lake and sighed, the water is so clear, and the air is so fresh. It's as if the soul is purified under the sun. Enoch frowned, slightly dissatisfied. Fasa went to fetch water. Why is it taking so long? Did he run off to have fun again? Did he go to the forest to pick wild fruits to eat? How insensible of her to let the distinguished guest wait here. From the hillside to the nearest lake, they had to go down through a small forest. They couldn't see the place where Fasa fetched the water. She had been gone for a long time. No wonder Enoch was worried. Aman said, maybe the jug is too heavy, or the hill is too steep. She didn't fall on the way. Prepare the tableware, I'll go and have a look. Aman walked down the hill through the forest towards the lake. When he was far away, Miri whispered to Enoch, my brother, have you decided how to do it? Enoch narrowed his eyes and whispered, when Fasa comes back, ask her to take Aman to the stove to see if the meat is ready. You take his other hand, and I'll finish him off with a sword from behind. If you're afraid, pretend to be smoky and close your eyes. You don't need to see anything. He pulled out his sword and put it next to the stove. I don't need to see anything, do I? Poor me, seeing everything. You didn't give up after all. A cold voice came from behind them. The two were scared out of their wits. Enoch turned around with the sword in his hand, but he was stunned. Metatron walked out of the forest with an unsheathed sword in his hand. There was still a faint trace of blood on the sword that had yet to coagulate. Metatron's face darkened. He didn't walk fast, but he slowly approached. After a brief moment of surprise, Miriam felt Enoch pinching her in the back. She opened her arms and squeezed a smile on her face. "You're back at last, my dear husband. I've missed you so much. Did you see our carriage in the parade? Your dear friend, Aman, is here too. He's about to leave. We're here to see him off." Looking at Madanzo, it seemed that he wanted to laugh but couldn't. He nodded, "Yes, I know. You've treated me well. I've asked Fasa just now. Not only did she tell me what I wanted to know, but she also told me a lot of things that I didn't know before. I don't want to repeat them." When Enoch heard this and saw the bloodstains on Metatro's dagger, he knew that something was wrong. Without saying a word, he suddenly rushed towards Metatro, the dagger in his hand piercing towards his chest. Metatro seemed to have been prepared for this. He nimbly sidestepped the vicious stab. With a scream, his sword pierced into Enoch's ribs. Then he heard Miria's scream of horror. Aman stood by the lake with his hands behind his back. He couldn't see what was happening on the hillside because of the woods behind him. He heard Miria's scream, but it stopped abruptly, like a chicken whose neck had been twisted. Aman closed his eyes for a while and opened them again. He gazed at the beautiful lake under the sun. No one knew what he saw. After a long time, there was a sound in the woods. Madanzo came to the lake with his sword sheathed and a sad look on his face. He came behind Aman and bowed, "My God, I don't know how to express my shame to you." Aman didn't look back. He said in the same sad tone, "I didn't ask you to kill them." Madanzo bit his lips. "I pointed my sword at Fosse and interrogated her. Not only did I find out what they wanted to do to you, but I also found out some embarrassing things. None of them understood your hints and warnings. They didn't give up even at the last moment. Let their blood be my sacrifice to you, Aman. You are my only god. If it weren't for you, I would have been blinded and lived in shame forever." Aman didn't ask what else Madanzo had learned. He turned around and looked at him with sympathy. "They're gone. What are you going to do?" "Go home." Madanzo replied, "It's so quiet here. No one knows that they've been here and will stay forever. This is the home they chose, isn't it? Ammonius, I have nothing left to love in Babylon City. Please allow me to travel the continent with you and be your servant." Aman thought for a while and finally nodded, "That's fine. I was afraid that you would do something bad again. But your home is still here. Go home and settle down. I'll wait for you for 3 days." 4 months after he left, Madanzo, a commoner warrior who had lost his noble status, finally returned home. But his beautiful wife, Miri, was not at home to welcome her husband. Miri had gone out with a young man with her maid yesterday. They didn't come back for the whole night. The man had been living in Aman's house for a month and was very generous. He must be a rich young merchant who had come to the capital for sightseeing. The neighbors were talking about him. Metatro, of course, heard the rumors. He sat at home with a gloomy face, waiting. But Miri didn't come back for another day and night. The neighbors were talking about whether Miri had eloped with the young man. Staying with a rich merchant was better than staying with the unreliable Madanzo for several months a year. Miri had even put her beautiful maid, Fasa, in order to tie the young man's heart. How would Madanzo feel when he heard the rumors? He waited at home for another day. Finally, he couldn't stand it anymore. He dismissed the gatekeeper, coachman, and other servants, entrusted the ancestral house to a distant relative, and left the city of Babylon with his sword and luggage. People were talking about Madanzo going to find Miri. He might have a duel with the young merchant. Would he be able to come back? On an official road in Kish, Babylon Kingdom, Madanzo was driving a carriage pulled by 2 fine horses. His eyes were looking forward, but he didn't know where he was looking at. He let the horses gallop casually. It seemed that he was absent-minded again. This carriage was lent to Aman by Lescut Lee. It was not convenient for Aman to drive the carriage when he sneaked into the city, so he left it in an inn in a town and paid the waiter enough money to take care of the 2 horses. On the way back, he took the carriage back, but this time it was driven by Madanzo. The curtain was still up. Aman was sitting in the carriage, studying the snake tendon, wondering what kind of artifact he could make from it. It was not always successful to work on a magic artifact. If he wasn't careful, the material could be damaged. Although Aman was taught by the best craftsmen on the continent, he had never worked on an artifact with his own hands. He only had one snake tendon, so he had to be careful. Suddenly, the carriage jolted. Aman knew that Madanzo was absent-minded again. Madanzo had been very depressed on the way, even more depressed than the cat. He was often silent for most of the day. Madanzo was a third-level sorcerer, so his mind would not be easily disturbed. But this kind of thing was not good for anyone. His feelings would not change because of his firm belief. As Aman understood, any kind of test encountered in the practice of magic did not only signify a single threshold, but in fact ran through the whole process. Aman didn't want to see Madanzo so depressed. He tried to find a relaxing topic to distract him. He put down the snake tendon and asked, "What are you thinking about, Madanzo?" Madanzo's shoulders shook slightly. He cracked the whip and the two horses regained their balance. He answered, "Nothing, nothing. I'm just daydreaming." Aman asked again, "There are guards checking the gates of Babylon City, but you can pass through them every time. How do you do it? Do you have any tricks? Can you tell me?" A faint smile appeared on Metatro's face. "My God, Aman, there is actually no trick. There are so many people going in and out of the capital every day. It's impossible for everyone to be checked. The guards will only stop those they think suspicious. I've been there many times, and I'm a resident of the capital. They all know me. Besides, I'm an advanced warrior. Many of the guards at the West Gate used to practice body arts with me. The captain and I have a good relationship. Why would they check me?" Aman nodded. "Oh, I see." As they talked, Madanzo seemed to be in a better mood, but there was still a trace of melancholy in his eyes. They were heading west. The city of Kish was located in the northwest of Babylon, close to the edge of the Saya Plateau. To the north were the rolling mountains. Across the plateau was the kingdom of Assur, and to the west was the Euphrates River Valley. Geographically, this place was closer to the dwarf settlement on the other side of the Euphrates River, where Link lived. Madanzo wasn't afraid of crossing the mountains. The most troublesome part was crossing the river. There was a part of the Euphrates River in the mountains where the water was relatively gentle and the valleys on both sides were relatively open. It could have been used as a crossing point. But no one used to cross the river from there, because it was where Humbaba's lair was. Things were different now. Humbaba had been killed by Enkidu. The city of Kish took the opportunity to set up a crossing point and station troops there. Although crossing the river from the crossing point required a long mountain road, it was much shorter than taking a roundabout route from Uruk. Aman's original plan was to have Madanzo follow him for a while and cross the river from the crossing point. Then Madanzo would go north to Link's tribe, while he would go south to the Cape States of the Empire of Iga to return Nero's relics. Metatro's third-level magic power had been cultivated to the peak, and according to the training method taught by Aman, the next thing he had to face was the test of body arts, the purity of the blood. As a fourth-level warrior, Madanzo had passed the test by accident. It would be much easier for him to do it again, but he still needed a quiet environment. In his current state, he needed a quiet environment. So Aman wanted him to stay with the barbarians until he passed the temptation of the devil and became a fifth-level sorcerer. Metatro's experience was different from Aman's. He didn't lack worldly experience. As for the so-called devil's true face, he had seen it clearly enough. Of course, they weren't afraid of the cold of winter and the dangers of the wild. They stayed in the wilderness and rested in the forest that night. Aman found a secluded place to practice the basic meditation of magic. No matter what he experienced, he had never stopped practicing. Chapter 64. Do you want to go too? Aman sighed slightly. There were some things that couldn't be persuaded. He could only let Madanzo untie the knot in his heart. Although it was easy to kill people with a sword, it was not so easy to cut off troubles. The next day, they arrived at a town. Aman asked Madanzo to stop the carriage and said, "This town is very big. We'll stay here for a while and buy some things we need on the road. There are many taverns and shops in the town. You can go and relax. I only have one warning, don't look for people to fight." Aman stayed in the inn. At night, he deliberately asked Madanzo to go out alone and not come back at night. Madanzo first went to the tavern in the town and drank a lot of wine. The more he drank, the more sober he became. Then he went to the largest brothel in the town. He called the most beautiful prostitutes in the brothel to his room and drank with him. Then he closed the door and spent the night. He didn't come out until noon the next day. Madanzo was rich. He made a lot of money from selling damask steel embryos. He was usually very thrifty, but today he was very generous. Back at the inn, Aman asked him with a smile, "How is it? Do you feel better?" Madanzo replied with a little embarrassment, "When I looked up and saw the sun at noon today, I suddenly felt that I didn't need to be like this. I'm your servant, but I need you to take care of me silently. I'm really ashamed. Please forgive me." Aman nodded. "Well, it's good that you've calmed down. You really haven't been feeling well these days. I'm also very happy to see that you've finally figured it out and stopped being depressed." The somewhat mischievous Madanzo came back again. He winked at Aman and said, "My God, you're young, strong, handsome, and rich. If you go to the brothel, the girls will definitely like you very much. If you want to see it, can I take you there today?" To be honest, Aman had never been to a brothel, and he never thought of what he would do in that kind of place. Although he was still young in the caveman tribe, his body was already very mature. Link had expressed more than once that he would send the most beautiful girl in the tribe to serve him. Perhaps it was because of the difference in aesthetic standards, but Aman had never been interested. It wasn't that Aman didn't have any desires, and he had never deliberately wronged himself. When he met Yun Numna, he did feel the budding desire in his body, but he didn't want to do anything to Yun Numna. In his heart, there was already a woman. She was untouchable, but she had a name that belonged to him. There were no other temptations in this world. Madanzo wanted to take him to the brothel to broaden his horizons, but Aman wasn't interested at all. He even felt that he was wronging his own desires, so he smiled bitterly and asked, "Do you want to go again today?" Madanzo also smiled bitterly and shook his head, "No, it's not necessary." Aman waved his hand, "Then let's go. We'll continue westward and cross the Euphrates River. Then we'll reach the mountain road. There won't be such a big town again." Madanzo said reluctantly, "Why are you in such a hurry? You'll have to leave after crossing the Euphrates River. I heard something strange in the town today. Princess Sisela is trapped in a tribe of alpine giants. She's in a very dangerous situation. If this gets out, the whole kingdom will be shocked." Aman suddenly stood up, "What's wrong with Princess Sisela? Tell me clearly." Madanzo was surprised, "Ammonius, why are you so concerned? Could it be? I know Princess Sisela. She's my friend. What danger is she in?" Aman interrupted. Madanzo was tongue-tied, your friend? Oh, I see. Princess Sisela must have met you when she was traveling in the kingdom in disguise. No wonder you're not interested in the girls in the town. They're nothing in your eyes. But I have to remind you, haven't you heard the rumors in the kingdom?" Aman glared at him, "You've just woken up and you're already talking nonsense. I met Princess Sisela by chance. We're friends. She helped me before. How can I not be concerned when I hear she's in danger? What exactly happened? Hurry up and tell me." This town was called the town of Arcade. When Madanzo came out from the brothel this afternoon, he saw a group of people gathering in front of the shrine. Mayor Tich was recruiting warriors to rescue Princess Sisela. A few days ago, a group of merchants came to the town. They stayed in the town for a few days and went sightseeing. One of them was a beautiful young lady, who left a deep impression on them. A few days ago, the caravan left the town for the Saya Highlands in the north. It was said that they were going to trade goods with the Highland giants. Mayor Titch warned them not to go there rashly, because they might be in danger unless they hired enough bodyguards to protect them. He also advised the young lady not to take the risk. If the caravan wanted to go, she should stay in the town and wait for them. The girl thanked him with a smile. Her dazzling smile almost stole Titch's soul, but she still went. But yesterday, a man from the caravan suddenly returned to the town with a weapon in his hand and blood all over his body. "Did you find Titch?" Zhou reported. He was Princess Sisela's bodyguard, and the beautiful young lady was the princess. They were attacked by the giants in the mountains and trapped in a valley. They were in a very dangerous situation. The bodyguard risked his life to climb over a mountain and kill a mountain giant who tried to stop him on the way to the town. The injured bodyguard told Titch. Princess Zhou Shaoqian was trapped in the valley and asked him to bring people to rescue her. Mayor Titch's head was buzzing. He felt like the sky was falling down. If something happened to Princess Sisela in Arcade, his life would be in danger. Under normal circumstances, no one would dare to offend Princess Sisela as long as she revealed her identity. Not only was she the king's only sister, but she also had a fiancé like Gilgamesh. Who would dare to offend her? But the barbaric giants on the plateau didn't care. When they heard that the young lady in the caravan was a princess, they attacked her even more ferociously. They tried to kidnap her and extort her for a large sum of money. Princess Sisela might be playful, but she wasn't stupid. The caravan was actually her bodyguard in disguise. They could protect her under normal circumstances. But this time, they ran into a tribe of giants who were familiar with the terrain. The situation was very strange. The giants, who usually fought each other on their own, joined forces. Princess Sisela's bodyguard couldn't hold them off and had to protect her as they retreated. They were forced into a valley, and the situation was very dangerous. As soon as the warrior arrived, Titch. Before Zhou you could organize a rescue team, the giants' united tribe actually sent a messenger. The messenger was tall and wore coarse clothes made of animal skin. He even had a ring on his nose. He thought that he was very beautiful. After delivering a message, he took his leave. Titch. Mayor Zhou's heart almost stopped beating. For the sake of Princess Sisela's safety, he didn't let the giant stay. The messenger's message was terrible. A princess was in their hands. They asked the town of Arcade to ransom her with a large sum of money in 3 days. Otherwise, they would kill the princess. The tribes were planning to move far away anyway. They weren't afraid of being hunted down by Babylon's army, and there was nowhere to find them in the mountains. Mayor Titch wasn't sure if the news was true or not. Had the princess already been captured by the giants on the way back to Arcade? Or was it just a bluff? Mayor Titch didn't dare to take any chances. He had to follow the messenger's conditions and send the materials to the designated place as soon as possible. Mayor Titch was a bit confused about what the giants wanted. Kidnapping and extorting a large sum of money should be enough. What were these barbarians thinking about? They wanted to bake wheat flour into cakes that could be stored for a long time, process jerky and dried meat, large wooden barrels of salt, a lot of dromedary camels that could only carry goods for long distances, cloth that could be made into clothes, farming tools for farming, seeds that could be sown next year, tents for camping, and finally, a large sum of money, but they didn't say how much they wanted. Mayor Titch ordered the townspeople to prepare overnight. While Madanzo was drinking with his mistress, the townspeople were busy baking pancakes and making jerky. Farming tools, salt, seeds, dromedary camels, and cloth were all gathered in the name of the government. However, they didn't find many tents for camping. This was not a military camp. Who would store such things for no reason? Titch. Zhou Zhen was a very capable local governor. If it was someone else who encountered such a situation, they would definitely be flustered for a few days. However, he had sent people to inform the residents to work together. It only took him one night and half a day to get everything ready. He did not panic at all. Most of the materials were collected from the shops, and the temple in the town issued a receipt for them. As for the camels and farming tools taken from the farmers' houses, they were all carefully recorded. They could take the receipt to the town clerk to get the money. But Zhou didn't dare to place all his hopes on the ransom. He made two preparations. He immediately recruited brave warriors with a large sum of money. Nominally, they were escorting the materials to negotiate with the giants. At the same time, they were also trying to save Princess Sisela by force in case the giants turned against them. Transporting a large number of materials to the giants in the mountains was a dangerous task. Mayor Tich decided to lead the team himself. The giant's messenger only gave him 3 days. It would take a day to get to the designated place from Arcade, and it would be too late to ask for help from the city or the king. Distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Arcade was the largest town in the area. It had more than 5,000 residents. Mayor Tich could only rely on him. Tich sent an urgent message to the city of Kish. At the same time, he gathered all the warriors and the only 2 mages in the town and put up a notice to recruit warriors to go with him. Zhou was a 5th-level warrior. There were more than 20 warriors in the town, but they were still too weak. He hoped that there would be more warriors willing to help him. Madanzo happened to see the scene. He heard the crowd talking about the princess. Princess Sisela might have been captured by the giants. Some people shook their heads and sighed. The playful princess was finally in trouble. What a pity for such a beautiful girl. No matter how angry Gilgamesh was, it would be useless. The simple-minded giants wouldn't think too much about the consequences. Madanzo didn't stay long. He went back to the inn after asking about the situation. Amon was startled. He lifted his cane and asked, "Did you find out when Mayor Tich plans to leave?" Madanzo answered, "Today, I'm recruiting warriors to join the escort team. We'll leave in the evening. We can't afford any delay. Time is tight." Amon said, "My friend is in danger. I'm going to save her. Madanzo, will you come with me?" Metatro patted his chest with a joyful expression. "Actually, I want to go too. Don't forget that I'm a brave warrior. I want to wash away my shame with heroic deeds and pull myself together again. However, I'm traveling with you, so I have to listen to your orders." Amon nodded. "You want to go too? That's better. Let's go." Madanzo blinked his eyes and said, "Ammonius, if you want to join the team, you can't do it as a sorcerer. I have a suggestion. It'll be more convenient, but I'll have to trouble you for now." Amon said, "You've really come back to life. You always have a lot of ideas. Tell me if you have any." Madanzo scratched the back of his head and said shyly, "I'm a middle-grade warrior. I'll be valued if I join the team. We have 2 horses, so I'll go as a ranger. Ammonius, you can pretend to be my follower for now. You'll have to keep the twig and the leather bag with you at all times. That way, you'll be able to follow me." Amon glanced at Madanzo. "You want to save Princess Sisela as a ranger, like a hero in the legends? Very well, it does suit your temperament. I'll make you look more majestic. Put on these." He reached into the leather bag and took out a golden spear. He handed it to Madanzo. The leather bag was only 3 feet square, but the spear was 9 feet long. Madanzo was stunned. While he was still in a daze, Amon took out a 3-foot wide and 5-foot long green shield. He put it on the table and took out a silver sword. This sword was much more beautiful than Madanzo's. It was made of damask steel and plated with heavy silver. It was engraved with subtle patterns in the shape of a magic circle. There was a parangan inlaid in the middle of the sword. "My God, Amon, you are..." Metatro was tongue-tied and couldn't say a word. Amon was not done yet. He reached out and took out another set of luxurious armor. It was very light in his hand and was engraved with magic formations. It was obviously a specially made magic artifact with excellent defensive effects. He put them in front of Madanzo and said with a smile, "Now you look like a noble warrior, don't you think? I've prepared these for you a long time ago. You can use them now." The spear and the shield were very sharp and strong. The sword and the armor were not ordinary weapons. They were enchanted with magic. Madanzo took the sword and touched the armor. He was so excited that he didn't know what to say. After a long while, he looked up and said, "Even if I sold my ancestral home, it wouldn't be enough to make a set of weapons like this. How can I accept it? Please lend it to me for a while." Amon smiled and shook his head, "These are yours. I've also given Link a staff. But you can't reveal your identity as a sorcerer in the mainland, so I've prepared a set of warriors' equipment for you." Madanzo had seen Link's staff in the savage tribe. He was so envious that he drooled. He didn't expect that Amon had already prepared such a set of equipment for him. In the team that chased after Bear, the equipment of the warriors was naturally of high quality. Even after the battle, they were still intact. Which one of them wasn't good? Metatro was already quite handsome. Now that he had changed into this armor, a sword at his waist, a shield in one hand and a spear in the other, he looked like a majestic god of war, incomparably dazzling. While Amon and Madanzo were talking, in a separate courtyard at the back of another inn in arcade, two people were also discussing something. A middle-aged man with a staff said to a young man, "Your Highness, I don't recommend that you take the risk yourself. If you want to save the princess, you should send us. If Princess Sisela can't be saved, and something happens to you, it'll be troublesome." The young man called, "Your Highness," said, "I was passing through arcade when something happened to Princess Sisela. Do you think I won't be in trouble? She's the princess of the kingdom. What does it mean if I don't save her? If this gets out, I'll lose all my prestige in the kingdom." The middle-aged man still tried to persuade him, even the princess's guards couldn't resist the attack of the giants. "I'm afraid we're no match for them. Of course we have to save her. It won't hurt your prestige if you send us." The young man shook his head, "I'm a little older than her, but she's my aunt. Not only will I save her, but I'll also go myself. Princess Sisela is in danger because she was caught off guard. We should be careful and save her instead of fighting the giants." The middle-aged man was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed and nodded, "It's good that you go yourself. Whether you can save her or not, it's a sign of your sincerity and courage. If it weren't for the possible danger, I would also suggest that you go yourself. But if anything happens, our responsibility is to protect your safety first." The young man waved his hand, "Yes, I understand. I'll go now." The middle-aged man looked at the staff in his hand and looked up, "I have a suggestion. Please don't reveal your identity for the time being. Don't let anyone know who you are before you rescue the princess and meet her. If the giants know that you're going to rescue her, I'm afraid they'll add another target to their list. If the rescue fails, no one here will recognize you. It won't affect your reputation." Chapter 65. We all know. Madanzo's armor and weapons gleamed in the sunlight. He rode his horse to the square in front of the shrine. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn to him, and there was a commotion among the crowd. Mayor Titch parted the crowd and came to greet him. He bowed politely, "Are you here to help us rescue Princess Sisela?" Madanzo dismounted and bowed back, "My name is Madanzo. I live in the king's city. I'm a 4th-level warrior. I love to travel around the continent, and I yearn to be a hero in the legends. I've heard that you're recruiting warriors in town, so I've come to offer my services." The prostitutes in the town also squeezed into the crowd to watch the fun. A few gorgeously dressed girls proudly said to the people next to them, "Look, that handsome hero. We accompanied him last night." Madanzo was dressed like a supreme warrior, but he introduced himself as a 4th-level warrior, which was disappointing. But Titch was still happy. One more person meant more power. The better the weapon, the stronger the fighting power. He was a 5th-level warrior himself, the only middle-grade warrior in town. Now there was another Madanzo. Mayor Titch took the reins himself and said, I, the town, the city, and the whole kingdom would like to thank you. Is this warrior with you? As he spoke, he did not forget Amon, who was walking behind Madanzo with another horse. Madanzo paused and said, He's my friend, a 5th-level warrior. He's a modest man, and he's here to rescue Princess Sisela. If he had not introduced himself in this way, people might have mistaken Amon as his servant. Knights usually brought more than one horse with them when they traveled across the continent. Amon, who was holding the horse with a branch, looked very much like a servant. Madanzo's armor was bright, and his servant was not shabby either. He was wearing soft leather boots and a beautiful fur coat. It was Madanzo's idea to let Amon pretend to be a servant, but he did not say that Amon was his servant. He changed his mind and said that Amon was his friend. Titch was overjoyed to see a 5th-level warrior. He greeted Amon, You look like a noble hermit. Thank you for your help. The town and the city of Kish will reward you handsomely. Please take a rest in the shrine. My clerk will explain the details of the operation. The horses will be taken care of. Seeing that Madanzo had changed his mind, Amon smiled and did not say anything. He followed Madanzo into the shrine of Marduk in arcade. The clerk arranged for them to have a good rest and eat their fill. They would leave in the evening, but the recruitment was still going on in the square outside. Amon was sitting in the lounge of the shrine, drinking broth and eating flatbread, chewing slowly while listening to the town clerk, Dirk, introducing the action plan. Deco and Madanzo were both advanced warriors, so they were particularly respected and valued in the crowd. The clerk was basically introducing the operation to them. Amon was about to interrupt and ask something, but when he looked up, he was stunned. He saw an acquaintance, not really an acquaintance, but a god he had been familiar with since he was a child. The main god of the shrine was, of course, Marduk. One of the walls of the side hall was engraved with many reliefs of the gods. One of the goddesses was the former patron of Duk, Murin. There was a shrine dedicated to Murin in the town of Duk. Amon had long been familiar with her statue, but after the devastating disaster, he did not want to think too much about it. But when he saw the reliefs of Murin, he suddenly understood why Yunamna looked so familiar. It turned out that she looked exactly like Murin. It was hard to associate a solemn and dignified statue with a lively girl, but her face and figure really looked like Murin. Amon was going to save Yunamna. He suddenly realized something. Then he wondered why Princess Sisela of Babylon looked so much like Murin. Was it a coincidence? The royal family of Babylon claimed to be the descendants of the gods in the human world, so Murin could also be the ancestor of Princess Sisela. While Amon was staring at the statue in a daze, another group of 5 people came to the square in front of the shrine. They were led by a mage with a staff, followed by a young mage and 3 armed warriors. Before they could get close, Mayor Titch had already parted the crowd and greeted them, Dear esteemed mages, please forgive me for my rudeness. I didn't know that you were coming to our town. Did you hear about what happened in the town and come to help? They were just a group of passers-by who didn't know that there were mages among them. The middle-aged man who led the group nodded slightly and said, You're the mayor of this town. I'm Gakate, a 6th-level mage from the capital. This is my student, a 3rd-level mage, Elliot. These 3 are my companions, advanced warriors. I heard that Princess Sisela is in danger and the mayor is recruiting warriors to rescue her. It's only right that we do our best to help. As Gakate spoke, he took out a special nameplate. Although there was no name on it, it was enough to prove his identity. It was the symbol of a teacher in the Academy of Magic, and it was also the proof of entry to many places in the Academy of Magic. Mayor Titch was so happy that he almost jumped up. Yesterday, he thought that he was the unluckiest person in the world. How could such a disaster happen to him? But this afternoon, he almost thought that he was the luckiest person in the world. Only when he put up a recruitment notice did he realize that there were many hidden talents in arcade. 2 mages and 5 advanced warriors had come to the town. Originally, there was only 1 advanced warrior in the town, 1 third-level mage and 1 first-level mage in the shrine. The whole town only had a little more than 20 low-level warriors. This afternoon's recruitment had greatly increased the strength of their team, especially the distinguished Lord Gacate. He was the teacher of the Academy of Magic in the capital. His status was completely different from that of ordinary mages. A 6th-level mage could already perform advanced magic and was only 1 step away from becoming a supreme mage. According to Gacate's self-introduction, he had heard about Gilgamesh and Enkidu killing Humbaba in the capital. Therefore, he had brought his students and a few friends to the battlefield of the Euphrates River to visit the ruins of that great battle. The mage wasn't lying. That was what they were here for. They just happened to pass by the town of Arcade. At sunset, a strange caravan set off from the town of Arcade. The caravan was loaded with all kinds of supplies, as if it was a long-distance migration. The coachman and the guards of the caravan were all warriors, armed with all kinds of weapons. Camels and horses followed behind the caravan. The caravan moved quickly. Everyone looked serious. Some of the warriors even looked excited. Normally, such a large number of supplies should be transported in carriages with wide bodies. However, most of the carriages in this caravan were light and sturdy, and could only be pulled by 1 horse. So there were many of them. There were also a few very light carriages in the caravan, which could travel very fast with the best horses. Along the way, a carriage was left behind and guarded by someone. This was Mayor Titch's way of thinking. If the princess got into conflict with the giant's tribe after rescuing her, he had to escort her to safety as soon as possible. Knights could change horses, but the princess had to take carriages. If she was injured, she would have to be treated in a carriage. Changing carriages along the way would ensure the fastest speed. Therefore, all the carriages had to be prepared in advance. Amon observed everything in silence. He admired Mayor Titch. Such an emergency was like the collapse of the sky for the mayor. Titch. However, Zhou Peng handled the situation as well as he could under the current circumstances. Among the important figures in this caravan, the most mysterious and precious ones were Gacate and his companions. The most powerful and eye-catching one was Madanzo, and the most low-key one was Amon. What about Titch? Zhou Peng was worried and nervous, but also excited and impulsive. He didn't know who Princess Sisela was, but he was fascinated by the beautiful and enchanting girl. He even wanted to pursue her. After knowing that she was Princess Sisela, he had cut off all possibilities of getting close to her. But now, an opportunity presented itself. If he could rescue Princess Sisela with such a caravan, he might be able to win the princess's heart. It was a heroic achievement. Although he was not stupid enough to fight with Gilgamesh for a fiancé, nor did he have any delusions, obtaining the favor and praise of the princess was in itself a supreme honor, not to mention the rewards from the city-state and the capital. In fact, many warriors in the caravan shared the same thought. They were worried but also excited. At this moment, they were imagining themselves as Enkidu who was going to kill Humbaba. Amon and Madanzo had 2 good horses. Although the horses used to pull carriages were different from those used to ride in battle, they were more than enough to handle the situation. Mayor Titch gave them another horse to take turns on the road, so that one of the horses would be resting while the 2 of them were riding. Humans could travel through the night, but beasts could not. The whole caravan had to be in top condition. Amon also noticed that among the group led by Gacate, there was a young man with a very special status. He was obviously more distinguished than the rest of the group. Although he was just a follower, the other 4 were very respectful towards him. Their expressions were unconsciously careful. Whether it was changing horses or drinking water, they would first take care of this young man. The young man called himself Yolito, a noble warrior in the king's city. It seemed that his identity was not simple. When Amon noticed this, he secretly reminded Madanzo. In fact, Yolito's identity was the same. If Madanzo did not change his mind and asked him to pretend to be a follower, he could easily be exposed. It was just a matter of time before anyone noticed it. The caravan set off that night. They stopped for a short rest in the early morning. After eating and drinking, they continued their journey. As they moved forward, Aman finally understood why most of the caravans were using light narrow carriages. The road was rough after entering the mountains. Only these carriages could barely pass through. Sometimes, they even needed the help of warriors to push them through the dangerous sections. At noon, when the sun was at its warmest, the caravan rested for a while. By now, they had entered deep into the mountains. It was a valley between steep peaks. As they went deeper, they climbed higher and higher. The surrounding peaks were like behemoths, giving off an indescribable sense of oppression. The atmosphere gradually became tense. No one spoke a word. They held their weapons and stayed vigilant. The weather in the Saya Plateau was much colder than in the Euphrates Valley. The higher they went, the colder the wind became. The warriors could not help but wrap their clothes tightly around themselves. Most of the barbarians living here were tall and stronger than ordinary people. They communicated with the outside world. Many Highlanders were even recruited as mercenaries by nearby kingdoms. Gabriel had been ambushed by Governor Shmuel's guards in Saya. Among them were 2 Highlanders who had received special training in martial arts. Not everyone in the Highland giant tribe was a giant, just like how the dwarves in Lynx tribe weren't dwarves either. However, the especially tall and strong ones were indeed like giants. The kingdom of Assur, to the north of the plateau, even had a special battle formation for the giants. They recruited and selected such people for special training. There were not many of them, but they were absolute elites. Many years ago, some of them were scattered in the chaos of war and fled back to their tribes deep in the mountains. They taught the body arts they had learned to their people. Therefore, the powerful Highlanders also had warriors who practiced body arts. Coupled with their natural strength, they were not easy to deal with. Princess Sisela's guards were not weak. But she was only here to play, not to fight. It was impossible for her to bring a supreme mage with her. She had 2 advanced mages and a 7th-level supreme warrior, the one who had rushed out of the encirclement with injuries. The other 8 were also advanced warriors. But the soldiers of the Highlanders could use bows and swords, which were powerful and long-range. It was dangerous for the mages to be surrounded. Not all Highlanders were well-trained. Only a few of them were skilled in body arts. Most of them could use bows and arrows, but they generally did not cooperate as well as they did in battle formations. But this time, the situation was very special. It was a joint operation of several of the most powerful Highlanders in the vicinity, which was a little strange. Don't fight with them with brute force. Don't be in a position where you can be shot from several directions. Pay attention to the terrain and don't be forced into a dead end. Then, Tich explained what had happened in detail to them, and made various plans to deal with the situation. However, nothing else happened along the way. They didn't even see a single Highland giant. One afternoon, the caravan climbed a steep mountain road with difficulty and arrived at an open area on the plateau. Finally, they saw the people who had come to greet them. They were a group of tall men. Almost every one of them was about the same size as Enkidu. They were holding clubs, hammers, iron forks, and other heavy weapons in their hands. They were dressed in messy clothes made of animal hide. When they saw the caravan going up the mountain, they actually let out a cacophony of cheers. They looked very happy. Tikhen, Zhou and Madanzo got off their horses. Together with Amon, they guarded the mayor. Gakate, the 6th-level mage, followed behind Tikhen. They maintained a very cautious formation, while the others stayed near the caravan. Tikhen, Zhou shouted, "Are you the tribe that besieged the princess? I've brought everything I want. Who's the leader? Tell him to come out and talk to me." The group of people who came to greet them had a stiff accent. They shouted in a low, muffled voice, "We're all leaders. It's good that you've brought everything. Give it to us. Tick hen. Zhou shook her head. Even if it's a kidnapping, there's no need to ransom someone like this. This is your territory. I've come a long way to deliver everything. I've shown my sincerity. You have to at least let me see the princess and know that she's safe before I hand over the things. The princess? He wants to see the princess? No, he wants to negotiate. Aren't we ready to negotiate? Oh, then let's negotiate. The Highlanders whispered to each other for a long time. Zhou shouted, a kidnapping needs to be negotiated, right? We all know. Come on, the tents are ready in front. Not only Amon, who had never seen such a scene before, but even Tick hen, who had dealt with the Highlanders before, was puzzled. Could it be that they had other tricks up their sleeves? Since the Highlanders were already here, they might as well go and have a talk. The young man named Yulito wanted to go with them, but both Gakate and Tick hen asked him to guard the caravan. On the way, Tick hen assigned tasks to the Highlanders. The young man named Yulito was responsible for escorting the princess out of the city as soon as possible. 2 advanced warriors and a mage would accompany him, while the heavily armed Madanzo and the others would cover them from behind. The mayor must have noticed that Yulito's status was even higher than Gakate's. Not far from them, there was a large and magnificent tent in an open space outside the woods. It was made of the skin of a snow leopard, which was very expensive on the plains. It was very beautiful. Even wild beasts would not dare to approach such a tent from afar. But upon closer inspection, the tent looked very rough and messy. There were already tables and stools in the tent. They were made of logs, sturdy but heavy. A short man came to them and bowed. Are you the mayor of Arcade? My name is Usser, and I'm the representative of the allied tribes. May I ask if you've delivered the things we asked for? This man was eloquent, unlike the other Highlanders who were all brawn and no brains. He was not short, about the same height as Tick hen, but he looked like a dwarf standing in the middle of a group of tall tribesmen. Usser had a round head, round eyes and a round nose. When he was not smiling, he was always smiling, which made him look very funny. Chapter 66. Who kidnapped whom? Titch answered with dissatisfaction, of course I have. Don't you see the caravan outside? But I'm here to ransom the princess, not to deliver gifts. Now that I've got what I want, shouldn't you let the princess go? I want to see all of them. The scene was different from what Titch had imagined. These people didn't mention the princess at all. Kidnapping was not like this. Usser smiled, don't worry. You must be tired after such a long journey. Sit down and have something to eat. The princess is fine, of course. But I need to know if what you've given us is what we want. Someone had placed some wild game, dried fruits and wine on the table. It was as if they were treating their guests to a meal. Amon and the others didn't sit down. How could they be in the mood to eat? Titch took out a roll of papyrus from his pocket and handed it to Usser. Everything is here. Do you want to check? Usser took the roll of papyrus and unfolded it. A big man next to him shouted angrily, it's all here. We've spent so much effort on it. Do you want this? Show it to me. Usser looked a little embarrassed. He turned his head and scolded, what nonsense are you talking about? This is a list of goods. They're all in the caravan outside. I can show you the list. Do you know how to read? I've warned you to keep your mouth shut. Why can't you remember? Amon might have laughed out loud if it was any other occasion, but now he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Usser began to read the list aloud. Bread, dried meat, seeds, farming tools, cloth. There were a lot of things on the list. Every time he mentioned an item, the Highlanders would burst into cheers. Someone even asked in disbelief, really? Are these things all for us? That's great. Titch answered, of course they're for you, as long as the princess is safe. The giants cheered again, the princess? Of course she's safe. These are all ours. Hearing this, Tich and the others breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the princess was safe, everything else was easy. The last item on the list was a large sum of money. Tich asked, I know what you want. But how much do you want? The messenger did not say how many. A giant with a beast's tail on his head interrupted, of course it'll cost a lot of money. It'll cost at least 30 gold coins. Upon hearing this, Amon almost reached out for the table. 30 gold coins was indeed a large sum of money to an ordinary person, but after kidnapping the princess of the kingdom, having her bring a large group of carriages and asking for a bunch of worthless items, they only managed to extort 30 gold coins in cash. If Princess Sisela had heard this, she would have jumped up in anger. Was she so worthless? Although the items sent by the caravan were not valuable, there was a huge amount of them, and they were worth far more than 30 gold coins. What? You want 30 gold coins? Mayor Tich couldn't help but shout out loud, no matter how calm he was. The giant who interrupted scratched his head. Is it too much? Then, it should be at least 20 gold coins, right? Usher glared at the giant who interrupted and shouted, what do you mean by that? Is the princess of the Babylon kingdom only worth this much money? Another giant with a ring on his nose chimed in, that's right. You're asking for too little. How can 20 gold coins be enough? 50 gold coins at least. Tich and the others fell silent. Their expressions were indescribably strange. Usher, on the other hand, was so angry that he almost fell off his chair. He slammed the table and shouted, you only want 50 gold coins. The giants finally realized that 50 gold coins were not enough. Another giant with a tattoo on his forehead said in a low, muffled voice, I told you not to talk nonsense. If I were you, I'd ask for 100 gold coins. The giants were not stupid. As soon as they saw that the situation was not right, they started to raise the price. Mayor Tich quickly waved his hand, 100 gold coins it is. I'll pay you. But that's all. I don't have that many gold coins with me, so I'll only give you 5 parangons. Indeed, he didn't have any gold coins with him. All he had were parangons. Seeing the situation, he quickly changed his mind and agreed to pay the huge sum of 100 gold coins. Amon could also see that this group of Highlanders had not completely discussed it beforehand. They wanted supplies, but they didn't care about money. These giants should have come from different tribes. Their attire was unique. They had beast tails, nose rings, and tattoos. If one paid a little attention, they would be able to distinguish them. The giants in the tent were all the leaders of the tribes, and the 3 who spoke just now should be the leaders of the 3 tribes, equivalent to the chiefs of the tribes. It was a headache to organize these people together. Usher looked like he was already having a headache. When the giants heard that Mayor Tich was going to pay 5 parangons, they started to argue again, 5 parangons? How are we going to split it? Who gets 1 and who gets 2? Their voices were so loud that the tent buzzed with noise. Usher couldn't bear it anymore. He took out his short cane from his waist and knocked on the table, stop arguing. I have the final say. 6 parangons, 2 for each of your tribes. Then he turned to Mayor Tich, the last condition is 6 parangons. Hand them over now. 6 parangons were much less than what Mayor Tich had expected, but he didn't dare to take them out too quickly. He complained, you've gone too far, from 20 gold coins to 6 parangons. I'm here to save the princess, so I'll give you the money first. He put the 6 parangons on the table one by one. The 3 chiefs took them away immediately. They held them in their hands and looked at them carefully, grinning from ear to ear. Usher glared at them angrily, then turned to Mayor Tich and said, you've paid the money. You should hand over the rest of the things one by one, right? Madanzo, who had been silent all this time, couldn't stand it any longer. He shouted, you've already paid. Where's Princess Sisela? Hand her over, and we'll give you the things. Usher shook his head, no, no. What if you take the princess away and go back on your word? Gakate chimed in, this is your territory. The things have been delivered to the mountain. How can you take them away so easily? We're sincere, but you can't negotiate like this. First, we need to know where the princess is and whether she's safe. One of the chiefs put away the parangons. Of course the princess is safe. She's fine now, but we need her permission to bring her here. Hearing this, Titch and the others were shocked. Usher knocked on the table again. I told you to shut up. Shut up, or I'll leave you be. Seeing that Usher was really angry, the three chiefs quickly nodded. All right, we'll stop talking. We'll listen to you. You said that you can get me everything I want with a message. Someone has delivered the things to the mountain. From now on, we'll listen to you. Then he turned to the other chiefs. All of you, shut up and listen to Lord Usher. The tent finally quieted down. Usher said to Titch, I've only seen this list. I haven't counted the things on it yet. We need to know if everything has been delivered. As for the princess, we'll definitely let her go after we get everything. For some reason, Mayor Titch didn't want to argue with Usher any longer. He didn't insist on seeing the princess first. He thought for a moment and said, you can count the things first. I have 3 tribes here. Divide the things into 3 portions and send someone to transport them away. When you really need to transport the things, hand over the princess and her entourage. That should be fine, right? Send someone to count the things first. We'll go back to the caravan and wait. They finally ended the ridiculous negotiation and returned to the caravan. Yolito came up to them and asked anxiously, how did it go? Did you see the princess? Is she all right? Gakate waved his hand. The situation has changed. Princess Sisela may not be in their hands. Let's go back to the caravan. Listening to the messy conversation of the Highlanders, Amon and the other 3 were not fools. They had figured out that some of the tribes had yet to capture Princess Sisela. According to the wounded warrior, the princess was trapped in a valley. The giants were desperate for something, so they sent messengers to the town to extort money from her. It wasn't easy to organize these people. Usher must have been the one who came up with the idea. They went back to the caravan and hid behind a carriage. Yolito asked Mayor Titch, if that's the case, why did you agree to let them count the things? Mayor Titch smiled bitterly, it's just our guess that they didn't capture the princess. Even so, the princess must still be trapped. You didn't see how those Highlanders negotiated today. They probably don't even know how to count their fingers. How long would it take for them to count and divide the goods? Amon chimed in, it's getting dark. They'll have to wait until tomorrow morning if they want to count the things. We can use these things to distract them. We can sneak out at night and find out where the princess is. Is she safe? Madanzo nodded in agreement, yes, we should do that. We know where the princess is. We can sneak into the high ground under the cover of darkness. The warriors of the giants may be fierce, but they can still bypass the guards in the dark. If they really let Princess Sisela go, everything will be fine. If they go back on their word, we'll be able to save her. Yulidu pondered and said, kidnapping a princess of a kingdom must be severely punished. If you don't bear the consequences, you can get a large ransom. You can only encourage and condone this kind of behavior. You must send the army of the city to destroy them. But that's for later. The princess's safety is the most important now. It's best if we don't start a conflict. Mayor Titch opened a scroll. It was a topographical atlas of Arcade. The location where the princess was surrounded was marked on it. It was an open valley, backed by a precipitous peak, surrounded by mountains on both sides. The entrance to the valley was very narrow, and the terrain was easy to defend and difficult to attack. However, if one was blocked inside, it would be very difficult to break through. Even if they could use flying devices, such as advanced air scrolls, they would have to be wary of the giants' long-range crossbows. They couldn't let the princess take the risk. Mayor Titch's plan was to sneak through the mountains under the cover of darkness and sneak up to the peaks on both sides of the valley. If the princess was safe, they wouldn't act rashly. If the giants didn't let the princess go after the appointed time, they would attack from both sides and help the princess escape. Titch had also arranged the route of retreat after rescuing the princess, but there were some disagreements when it came to assigning tasks. Mayor Titch wanted to go, but Gakate and Amon insisted that he stay. He was the leader of the group, and he had to supervise the inventory and negotiate with them if anything happened. If he left, Usher would be suspicious, so they decided to let Amon and the others go. Yolito insisted on going himself, so Gakate had to agree. Gakate insisted that the 5 of them should act alone. He said that they needed to be familiar with each other and cooperate well to sneak through the forest at night. It would be inconvenient to bring other people with them. This was more or less an excuse. Gakate didn't want to expose Yolito's identity. If anything happened, he would have to protect the princess first. The 5 of them were well trained, and they cooperated well with each other. Gakate obviously didn't care about ordinary middle-grade warriors, and he didn't want to bring along 2 burdens, Amon and Madanzo. The result of the discussion was that they would split into 2 groups. Gakate's group of 5, Amon and Madanzo, would sneak up the mountain from the left and right. If they found the princess safe after daybreak, they would sneak into the forest. Titch's appointed time was tomorrow noon. By then, they would have finished counting the loot and the giants would release the princess. If they didn't release the princess, they would have to rescue the princess and cover her escape. With a skilled mage leading the way, it was a great advantage to travel in the mountains at night. Detection magic could detect the ambush of the Highlanders in advance, and they could sneak around them. No matter how many giants surrounded the princess, they couldn't guard every place. The mountains were so vast that they could sneak into the forest. But after a night of trekking, Gakate was able to detect all the enemies from a long distance with his magic. This was not something an ordinary mage could do. Gakate was probably the only one in the team who could do this. Mayor Titch wanted to send a mage to accompany Amon and Madanzo, but Amon smiled and refused. "I'm a hunter in the mountains. I'm used to chasing beasts and detecting all kinds of dangers in the mountains. That's why I dared to go into the mountains at night. I'm confident that I can sneak into the forest. Ordinary mages wouldn't be able to do this. One mistake and they might fall off the cliff. Only strong warriors have the strength and skill to do this. I'll go with Madanzo." Amon's words made sense. Mayor Titch didn't insist. He wished them good luck and told them to be careful. As a 5th-level mage, Amon was better at using detection magic at night than Gakate, a 6th-level mage. This was his habit. Therefore, Amon didn't want to travel with others. It would be inconvenient for him to use magic, and his identity as a sorcerer would be exposed. Gakate didn't expect much from the 2 mages, but out of kindness, he warned Madanzo, "This isn't a battlefield. You'll only be a burden if you wear heavy armor. Even if your armor is light and portable, the sound of metal clashing will expose your position. A shield is even more unsuitable to carry around. Your spear isn't a weapon for fighting in the forest. If you have to carry it, I suggest you smear it with mud first, because it will reflect light at night." Gakate was a teacher at the Academy of Magic. He taught not only magic, but also various battle techniques and precautions. He provided systematic guidance and training to his students. Amon agreed with Gakate. He asked Madanzo to leave the armor and shield behind and gave them to Mayor Titch. When they set off, Amon put away the spear and gave Madanzo an axe and a set of soft armor under his clothes. As for Amon, he didn't wear any armor or carry any other weapons. He was still holding a stick. The 2 rescue teams left one after another. They quietly went down the mountain and went around the dense forest without being noticed. The giants' tribe also sent people to count the supplies. Usher stood aside to supervise the count, accompanied by Mayor Titch and his clerk. The carts were unloaded and sorted. The scene was messy and noisy. Mayor Titch didn't send anyone to help. He let the giants do the work themselves, which would keep them busy until dawn. At night, torches were lit on the plateau, illuminating the open land as if it were daytime. The surrounding mountains looked gloomy and gloomy. Amon and Madanzo went down the mountain first. They went around the mountains and went to the designated location on the map. Metatro had visited the cavemen tribes in the mountains many times. Now that he was a third-level mage, he paid attention to his feet and walked as if he was in the daytime. Amon's disciples were different from ordinary mages. They didn't use their staffs unless they were in a critical situation. Instead, they used magic to help themselves, even if it was just for shelter. As for Amon himself, he was even better at walking at night than a supreme mage. He even used his iron stick to monitor the surroundings just in case. They had to go around to the other side of the valley where Princess Sisela was trapped. It was a longer route, but they arrived much earlier than Gakate and the others. By midnight, they had already climbed up the ridge on one side of the valley. Looking down from above, they saw a group of people guarding the center of the valley. They could see the light of a bonfire in the dark. Amon was a little surprised. He didn't see anyone guarding the place when he climbed up the ridge. To be safe, he asked Madanzo to find a place to hide while he sneaked along the ridge with his staff. He found giant warriors guarding the entrance of the valley. Chapter 67. Judging from the situation, the Highland giants had trapped the princess in this valley. They were guarding the mountain ridges on both sides of the valley's entrance. The entrance to the valley should be heavily guarded. The guards on both sides of the mountain ridges were not very tight. Amon and Madanzo easily found their way up and began to analyze the situation in a low voice. Amon was puzzled. I found 7 or 8 giant archers on the mountain ridges near the valley entrance. But they were all asleep. How could they trap the princess? Metatro frowned and said, that's not surprising. Everyone needs to rest. There must be people taking turns to keep watch at the entrance of the valley. Once they see Princess Sisela trying to break out, they'll send a signal or blow a horn. The guards will naturally wake up. Amon nodded, yes, that should be the case. It's not surprising that we could find our way here. After all, it's surrounded by dense forests and cliffs. But the princess and the others are in the middle of the valley. They will be discovered as soon as they make a move. Metatro looked at the faint light of the bonfire in the valley and said, now that we are familiar with the terrain and the distribution of the guards, we can sneak in and inform them to let Princess Sisela leave the way we came from when the clouds cover the moon and the stars. Amon frowned, that may not be safe. Even if we sneak in the dark, we may still be discovered by detection magic. The foot of the mountain is an open field. How do you know that there are no mages among the guards of the giants? I think that Usur is a mage. Madanzo also frowned, mage? He's probably a sorcerer too, isn't he? Can the sorcerers in the giants' tribe compare to you? Your magic should be able to hide your presence. I was just thinking of knocking out all the giant guards on this side of the mountain and sneaking over to bring the princess here. That would be a great achievement. Amon retorted, is there a way out from where we came from? Madanzo sighed and said, that's right, there's no path at all. It's just a huge forest, mountain walls, and cliffs. Even the noble princess can't traverse it. I was wondering if I could carry the princess out, but it was too risky. If those savages chased after us from behind, we wouldn't be able to escape quickly. Amon asked, it might be possible to carry one person on your back, but can you still protect the princess in case of an accident? Can you take all of the princess guards from here? If not, why would they let someone carry the princess? If that would work, the guard who broke through the siege would have carried the princess out of the mountain long ago. Madanzo smiled embarrassedly. I was just thinking about it. I'm eager to make a contribution. Amon pointed to the center of the valley and said, our advantage is that we know the distribution of the giant guards on this side of the ridge. I hope Gakate and the others can also find out the situation there. It will be much easier for us if we have to make a move. Don't forget our plan. We'll lay low until noon tomorrow. If we don't act according to plan, the others will not be able to react in time. Madanzo nodded, you're right. My Ammonius will listen to you. But can we find a way to send a signal to Princess Sicila and the others? Let them know that reinforcements are coming. Then they'll know what's going on. Ammon thought for a moment and said, that's possible. Princess Sicila and the others should be able to receive my signal. As he said this, he raised his iron staff and pointed it at the center of the valley. He concentrated all his magic power in one direction, so that even Madanzo could not sense it. Although Ammon was only a 5th-level sorcerer and couldn't practice supreme magic yet, he had mastered the magic he was good at. He was at the peak of his skill, not to mention that he had the magical staff to help him. Although he didn't know what level Inanna was, he knew that she was proficient in message magic and was quite good at it. When she left with Gilgamesh, she had already disappeared into the distance, but her voice could still reach his ears. Even Ammon did not have this ability. The bonfire in the center of the valley was very far away. Ammon activated his detection magic to the maximum to get a general idea of the situation. The guards around Princess Sicila had set up a temporary camp. They built a wall of rocks and tree trunks that was as tall as 2 people. It could withstand crossbow attacks from all directions. There was a bonfire inside the walls, and there were warriors standing guard. A tent had been set up on one side. As for the situation inside the tent, Ammon could not clearly detect it. It was too far away, and there seemed to be a magic barrier blocking prying eyes. In the tent behind the wall, a man and a woman were talking. Parangons were placed in the corner of the tent to form a magic circle. It isolated the sound from the inside and outside of the tent. The one sitting in the tent was Princess Sicila. Standing in front of her was a man less than 30 years old. This person should be very handsome, but he made people feel a little uncomfortable. It was not appropriate to describe a man as coquettish. But this man's skin was too fair and delicate. His lips were red, and his eyes were narrow and long, giving him a coquettish feeling. As they were talking, the man suddenly raised his head and looked in a direction, as if he had found something. Princess Sicila asked, Perry, what's the matter? Perry narrowed his eyes. Someone is using message magic to send us a signal. It's very far away, on the ridge over there. Princess Sicila was surprised. Who is it? What kind of signal is it? Perry replied, I don't know who it is. It's impossible to sense it clearly from this distance. The person is very careful. He can restrain his magic power and direct it in this direction without disturbing the surroundings. The power is not hostile. It's just to inform us that he's coming. Princess Sicila frowned. Is it a rescue mission? Could it be a mistake? Perry bowed and said, My honorable princess, do you not believe Perry? Princess Sicila smiled again, her expression indescribably charming. My dear mage, how can I not trust you? You've successfully become a 7th-level supreme mage not long ago. Only I know about it. Why don't you announce it? Once the news is made public, your status will be very different. Perry also smiled. To be able to serve you, princess, is far more desirable than the achievements of a supreme mage. You know my ambition very well. Hiding my strength around you may be more beneficial to our plan. After all, a supreme mage is too eye-catching. There are many supreme mages in the capital, but there is only one princess like you. Princess Sicila put her hand on the back of the chair. Perry, you are a smart person. If I can achieve my goal in the future, your future in the kingdom will be limitless. What was that just now? Did a mage sneak in to rescue us? Who do you think it was? Perry's eyes narrowed even more. In the Babylon Academy, the one who is most likely to become a 7th-level supreme mage is Gakate. He is Prince Benut's mentor and they are close friends. This time, he followed Prince Benut through the town of Arcade. He should be the one who sent the signal. Princess Sicila nodded with satisfaction. You're really smart. You sent Claus to break out of the encirclement and deliver the message. Prince Benut came with Gakate, bypassing the guards of the giant warriors and sneaking into this place. You see, when will they lose control of themselves? When the time comes, we will send our guards into the battlefield and lure them into attacking us. Will we be able to completely subdue them? Perry stroked the back of his hand. Prince Banut is really a passionate man. He cares about his young and beautiful aunt. Rest assured, Your Highness, I know the 5 of them very well. If we really have to fight, I'm sure we can subdue them. Moreover, those simple-minded Highlanders will cause them trouble. There will soon be rumors in the capital that Prince Banut took advantage of the princess's trip to bribe a tribe of Highland giants to assassinate you, and that Prince Banut was among them. Your Highness, you must be magnanimous and explain for him so that everyone will be grateful and respectful to you. Princess Sisela said with a faint smile, I will forgive his crimes, even if they are not crimes he has committed. Although Banut is the youngest of the princes, he is the most threatening one. He is smarter than his brothers and more popular. After this, I think his praiseworthy reputation will be called into question. Gacate has already sent the signal. We don't need to respond. Let's just wait for the Highlanders to attack them. Perry's smile was a little mysterious. Those brutish giants are simple-minded, but they keep their word. They won't let us go until the goods are delivered. And Prince Banut came down so quickly. Your Highness, when do you think the goods will be delivered? Princess Sisela answered confidently, at least 10 days. If it's just money, it's easy. But the giants want such a large amount of daily necessities. It's impossible for a small town like Arcade to send them all in 3 days. It'll take at least 10 days to report to the city-state and send guards to escort the goods. Perry said, Usser is an interesting Highlander. He has already organized the tribes, so they can take the goods and leave at any time. It should be enough for them to build a new home in the faraway fertile land. You are really far-sighted. You gave Usser a noble status and allowed him to learn magic, but gave him a noble fief in the Hittite kingdom. Princess Sisela stopped smiling and said indifferently, that is only the nominal territory of the Hittite kingdom. Soon, it will become a battleground for all the kingdoms. The Highlanders who are good at fighting have arrived in advance and built their homes under my guidance. Usser has promised to lead his people to build a shrine for Marduk. I think the gods will be grateful, and the kingdom should be even more grateful to have such a chess piece. In the upcoming war between the kingdoms, the kingdom of Babylon will take the initiative, and I will also become an important decision-maker. This is only the first step of the plan. If Amon could hear this conversation from afar, how shocked would he be? However, the confident princess and the supreme mage Perry had misjudged 2 things. First, it was not Gacate who sent the signal, but Amon. Second, it took Mayor Titch only 1 night and half a day to prepare the goods and deliver them. Amon put away his staff and stood there for a long time, as if waiting for something. Madanzo asked in confusion, What are you doing, Ammonius? Amon replied, I just sent a signal over there with message magic to inform them that help has arrived, but I did not receive a reply. Madanzo was surprised, I'm a sorcerer too. Why didn't I notice anything? Amon smiled like a child, you're still too young. This magic is very difficult. It's not a high-level magic, but it's very clever. I have to use my staff to do it. Madanzo praised in admiration, you're really clever. You're always a miracle in my eyes. But can they reply to you? Even if they have mages, they may not be as clever as you. Amon frowned, there's a 6th-level mage with Princess Sisela. Even if his message magic is not as good as mine, he should be able to receive the signal. I know Princess Sisela. She also knows magic. I don't know much about other things, but message magic is definitely better than mine. Maybe they don't know who we are. I don't have the ability to speak directly in their ears. Maybe they don't want to expose our location. In that case, let's move to another place. Amon led Madanzo to a place closer to the mouth of the valley, not far from the archers of the giant tribe. If they were to attack at noon the next day, they could eliminate the archers first and eliminate the biggest threat. Hopefully, Gacate and the others were doing the same thing on the opposite peak. They could attack from both sides and occupy the mouth of the valley. Then they could cover the princess's escape. While Amon was lurking quietly in the mountains, the inventory of the supplies on the plateau was still going on, and the powerful giants were sweating profusely. They could carry a carriage on their shoulders, but they were not good at counting and sorting. Fortunately, Usher was there to give them orders. Otherwise, it would have been a mess. Mayor Titch was chatting with Usher, trying to get some information out of him. He was very curious about him, so he asked with a concerned look, "Usher, are you also a giant?" "You don't look like one, but they all listen to you." Usher looked a little embarrassed. He answered grumpily, "Why do you always ask me this question? I'm really a member of this tribe, except that I'm a little short. I was laughed at when I was a child, so I decided to leave the mountain and learn magic before returning to my tribe." Then he changed his tone and said proudly, "Now my people worship me very much. They elected me as the leader of the United Tribe. They think I'm the smartest and the most capable of them all." Titch hurriedly said, "I see. My apologies for not recognizing you. You even dared to kidnap the princess of the kingdom. Let me ask you one more thing. Are you a sorcerer?" Usher shook his round head and said, "No, you misunderstand. I am a real second-level mage. I have received the permission of the shrine. In the main shrine of Marduk in the capital of Babylon, there is a record of me receiving the power awakening ritual." This time it was Titch's turn to be shocked. He was tongue-tied for a long time before he asked, "Really? You're a respected mage? That's unbelievable." Usher turned his head and stared at Titch with his round eyes. "What's so unbelievable about that?" "Mayor, if you don't believe me, you can go to the main shrine of Marduk in Babylon City and check their records to see if my name is there." Titch was just the mayor of a small town. He didn't have the authority to go to the main shrine of Marduk in the capital to check the records. Whether Usher's words were true or not, it would only annoy him. Titch replied with a sullen face, "I'm talking about what you're doing now. Since you're a respected mage, you must have a hereditary title. Why would you kidnap the princess of the kingdom? This is betrayal. Even if you want to do something for your people, you can't do it like this. They are stupid. Are you stupid? It will only lead to disastrous consequences for the tribes." Usher puffed out his chest and said, "Of course I have a reason. It's actually... I can't tell you. It's a secret." Suddenly, he seemed to realize that he had said too much. If he continued, he would spill the beans, so he stopped talking. No matter what Titch said, Usher would always change the topic and not talk about the topic anymore. At dawn, Gakate, Yolito, and the other 4 mages finally climbed to the ridge on the other side of the valley. They hid in the dense forest to rest. There was a trace of tiredness in Gakate's eyes. He sat there quietly without saying a word. Looking at the others, they were all in a sorry state. There were small cuts on their clothes made by tree branches and rocks. Especially Paley, Gakate's student. His pants were torn and his ankle was sprained. He even licked a wound on his leg. Fortunately, he used magic in time to heal himself. They were all pampered nobles in the capital. This was the first time they had to travel through dangerous mountains at night. Compared to Amon and Madanzo, who were used to doing this, it was already admirable that they were willing to endure such hardship. After a short rest, Yolito said to Gakate, "The guards here are not strict. There are no giant warriors nearby." Gakate pointed to the surrounding terrain and said, "The giants can't guard every corner of this vast forest. There is no other way out. You can't get out of here if you're not familiar with the terrain. Hide yourselves and don't move. I'll check the surroundings. It's almost dawn. Be careful." Gakate quietly searched along the ridge with his staff in hand. The situation here was similar to the one on the other side. On the ridge near the mouth of the valley, there were about a dozen archers of the barbarian tribe. Gakate didn't dare to go too close. He quietly retreated and discussed with Yolito for a long time. Their conclusion was similar to that of Amon and Madanzo. Chapter 68. Who saved whom? The sun shone over the ridge into the valley. As the sun rose higher and higher, the atmosphere became more and more tense. The people on both sides were ready to attack. They would eliminate the archers on both sides of the ridge as soon as possible, and then rush to the mouth of the valley to launch a pincer attack. However, there were still more than 2 hours before noon. Suddenly, a group of people came into the valley. A group of giants with sticks in their hands surrounded Mayor Titch, who was dressed in silver armor. There were also a dozen warriors and a mage accompanying him. Usher walked beside Titch with his staff in hand. He did not mind being surrounded by Titch's warriors. They came to a place far away from the camp. Mayor Titch shouted, "Dear Princess Sisela, I am Titch Sho, the mayor of Arcade. I have delivered the materials that the giants want. They have agreed to let you go. I have come with my warriors to escort you." Usher also shouted, "Your Highness, the town of Arcade has prepared the materials we want. They have been delivered. We are people who keep our promises. We should let you go now. Please set off." Judging from his tone, it seemed that he still needed the princess's permission to let Princess Sisela go. But on second thought, it made sense. The giants only wanted to extort the materials. They would not dare to hurt a princess, for that would be disastrous. Not to mention anything else, Gilgamesh's warrior, Enkidu, was someone that no one could afford to offend. Now, he could only hope that she could leave safely. Amon, Gakate, and the others on the ridge, as well as the princess in the camp, all heard the news, but they had different reactions. Amon finally breathed a sigh of relief. He said to Madanzo, "We don't have to fight anymore. It's better this way." Madanzo asked worriedly, "How can you be sure that the giants are not playing tricks?" Amon shook his head, "They should let her go since they have the materials. Unless their target is not the materials but the princess herself, which is completely unnecessary. Look at Usher. He's standing next to Titch, surrounded by the warriors of Arcade. Also, the archers on the mountain ridge have already withdrawn and given up on the siege. This is all done in secret. If they don't have sincerity, there is no need to do so." Inside the tent, Princess Sisela's face darkened. The string of beads in her hand broke into pieces. She cried out, "How could there be so many supplies? How could a small town like Arcade prepare them all? Taking livestock, food, farming tools, seeds, and cloth from house to house will deprive the residents of most of their winter supplies. It will definitely cause a revolt. Even if we forcibly collect them, it will be impossible to complete the task in 3 days." Perry's face darkened as well, but it seems that Mayor Titch has done it. He's a rare talent. If that's the case, a mayor of a small town should have the ability to govern a big city. Those simple-minded giants are trustworthy. They said they would release you as soon as the goods are delivered. What should we do now? Princess Sisela gritted her teeth, "Since we're putting on a show, we must put on a good show. Let's go." Perry's eyes were gloomy. "I'd like to see what kind of person the mayor is." "He ruined your plan." Princess Sisela suddenly smiled faintly, "My dear Supreme Mage, you shouldn't think like that. He did his best to save me. That shows his loyalty and ability. There aren't many people like him. We should take this opportunity to thank him and win him over. Then we should train him well. It's an unexpected gain." Perry hurriedly bowed and said, "Princess is wise, he is only the mayor of a small town. If he receives your praise and nurture because of this matter, he will be loyal to you wholeheartedly. He will become a very useful person to us in the future. But what about Prince Banut? Should we give up on our original plan? If we do that, he will become the hero who saved you. That's the opposite of our original plan." Princess Sisela answered expressionlessly, "We can only play it by ear. We don't know if they came with Mayor Titch. If they're still lurking around when we go out, it'll be easy to cause a misunderstanding. You can pretend to notice something amiss and attack the enemies lurking around. We can still get them involved. Who knows if they're lurking in the dark to assassinate us? It's impossible not to arouse suspicion. When the time comes, I can explain to them generously. I won't hold them accountable for their malice. I'll just express my gratitude and let the people in the capital talk about it. Perry nodded. You're wise, Your Highness. I'll inform my men to prepare for this. Let's go. Prince Banat, who had changed his name to Yolito, didn't know that he had fallen into a well-planned trap. He frowned when he heard the conversation between Mayor Titch and Usser. He said to Gakate, let's go down and meet up with Mayor Titch. We shouldn't hide here anymore. Gakate hesitated. How can you be sure that the giants won't trick us? If anything happens, we'll be able to deal with it in secret. Prince Banat frowned. If we don't need to do anything, it'll be hard to explain if we're discovered. Have the archers over there retreated? If they're gone, we can go down. The giants won't be able to trick us. Besides, we've already got what we want. There's no need to hurt the princess. We'll meet up with Princess Sicela's guards. As long as we get out of the valley, we won't have to worry about anything. When Perry walked out of the camp with his staff and 8 guards protecting Princess Sicela, a group of people came down from the ridge on the left. Gakate was no longer in the lead, but Prince Banat with a long sword at his waist. The giants were shocked and shouted, Hey, why are you guys here? I didn't see you just now. Prince Banat bowed. We came with a large group of people, hiding in the dark to prevent any accidents. Since you've kept your word, we'll come out to welcome the princess and escort her out. Usser was startled. He turned to Mayor Titch. You're really something. You've already sent your men here to ambush me. Are you worried that I'll go back on my word? There's no need for that. Look at my men. Which one of them would play such a trick? Mayor Titch smiled. It's better to be safe than sorry. I have to ensure the princess's safety. These are the warriors I recruited from the town. Prince Banat led Gakate and the others down the mountain, but he didn't meet up with Mayor Titch. Instead, he went straight to Princess Sicela. He knelt down on one knee and saluted her. Your Highness, my dear aunt, I'm so relieved to see you safe and sound. His entourage also knelt down and put their weapons on the ground. Princess Sicela and Perry's faces darkened, as if they had been punched in the face. But the princess soon put on a charming smile and asked in surprise, Banat, my dear nephew, how did I meet you here? Banat answered respectfully, I was on my way to visit the battlefield where Humbaba was killed by Gilgamesh and Enkidu. When I passed by the town of Arcade, I saw the mayor recruiting warriors. I learned that you were kidnapped by the giants, so I disguised myself as a warrior and came here to save you. While they were talking, 2 people were dumbfounded. Mayor Titch was also dumbfounded. He knew that the young warrior Yolito was not an ordinary person, but he never thought that he was Prince Banat, the youngest nephew of King Hammurabi II. It was said that Prince Banat was an indifferent person and rarely got involved in the complicated power struggles in the capital. He spent most of his time making friends and hanging out, but he had a good reputation in the kingdom. I can't believe I recruited His Royal Highness to join the escort team and even gave him orders as the leader of the team. Amon was also dumbfounded. It turned out that he had been mistaken all along. Although he was far away from the princess, he could see her face clearly. She was a lovely girl, but she was not Yun Numna. The reason why Amon was willing to get involved in this mess was not because he wanted to be a hero or be rewarded by the kingdom, but because he wanted to help Yun Numna. He always thought that Princess Sicela was the girl he met in Psalm. Madanzo pushed him from behind and said, What's wrong, Ammonius? Princess Sicela has come out, and the escort team has already met up. Shall we go down now? Aren't you Princess Sicela's friend? Can you introduce me to you later? When he saw Mayor Titch wearing the armor he left behind, and Prince Banat suddenly appeared in the crowd, he could not help but want to go down the mountain. If he did not show up soon, the limelight would be stolen by someone else. Amon was startled for a moment. He explained with a bitter smile, I was mistaken. Princess Sicela is not the girl I know. She can't possibly know me. Please introduce yourself when you go down the hill. Madanzo was tongue-tied. My God, you're really something. How could you make such a mistake? He whispered to Metatro, Princess Sisela isn't who I thought she was. We can't admit that I was the one who sent the magic signal yesterday. She doesn't know that I'm a sorcerer. We can't expose ourselves in this kind of situation. Metatro and Metatro walked down the hill. Amon suddenly realized something and whispered to Metatro, Princess Sisela is not who I thought she was. Medanzo also realized the problem. He nodded, thank you for reminding me. I almost didn't think of it. While they were talking, Princess Sisela was walking towards Prince Banut. Perry whispered in her ear, Your Highness, something is wrong. Gakate and his men came down from the left side of the mountain. The message we received last night came from the right side of the mountain. There must be another mage lying in ambush here. Princess Sisela's eyes flashed, but she did not say anything. When Amon and Medanzo reached the valley, Mayor Tich had already led the warriors to kneel down and salute the princess. Princess Sisela helped the warriors up one by one, thanking and praising them. Supported by the princess's slender arms and listening to her gentle words of comfort, the warriors felt as if their bodies were as light as a feather. The exhaustion of the past 2 days and 2 nights seemed to have been swept away. Princess Sisela saw Medanzo and Amon as they approached. She walked out of the crowd and greeted them, Are there 2 more warriors here? Thank you for your bravery and heroic actions. I will always be grateful. Medanzo and Amon also knelt down. Before their knees touched the ground, Princess Sisela reached out and held Medanzo's arm, Please rise, warrior. You are the hero of the kingdom. You are my savior. Sisela will be grateful and repay your kindness. The warrior behind me, please rise as well. Her face was less than 2 feet away from Medanzo's as she spoke. Her fragrant breath touched Medanzo's face. Her voice was like the most beautiful music in the world. Her face was like the most beautiful face in the world. Medanzo was stunned for a moment. He hurriedly collected himself and lowered his head, As a knight of the kingdom, it is my honor to serve the princess. Now I know that I came with Prince Banut. It is even more of an honor. They both knelt down at the same time. Princess Sisela helped Medanzo up first. He looked even more majestic than before. Amon seemed to be his attendant. Amon followed Medanzo up, but he noticed that a red-lipped, white-toothed mage behind the princess glanced at him. The gaze made him feel uncomfortable, as if he had been bitten by a poisonous snake. Princess Sisela joined the rescue team. By now, the Highlanders who accompanied Mayor Tich were nowhere to be seen. They seemed to be running away as fast as they could. They escorted Princess Sisela and Prince Banut out of the valley and down the mountain along a narrow path. They didn't pass through the plateau where they were supposed to check the supplies. Instead, they followed the route arranged by Mayor Tich and went straight back to where they came from. Several dangerous mountain passes were guarded by Mayor Tich's warriors. Along the way, Princess Sisela kept praising Mayor Tich. The mayor was so embarrassed that he almost floated in the air, his face flushed with excitement. Of course, the noble princess could not walk on the rugged mountain road. Tich had prepared a soft chair made of 2 wooden sticks and ordered the strong warriors to carry the princess. Mages were also on her side to protect her. It was not until dusk that they finally walked out of the mountains. In front of them was a trade road that was wide enough for carriages to pass. Amon walked silently at the back of the team. No one knew what he was thinking. He didn't know why, but the viper-like eyes of the mage beside the princess worried him. He felt that the mage was dangerous and unfathomable. At this moment, he suddenly froze, as if he had encountered something inconceivable. He heard a voice beside his ear, and it was accompanied by a string of laughter that sounded like silver bells. My handsome hunter, brave hero, I thought you weren't interested in beauty and power. But it turns out that you're willing to risk your life to rescue Princess Sisela. Do you want to get close to the most famous beauty in the kingdom? Aren't you afraid that I'll be jealous? The voice came so suddenly that it sounded like it was right next to his ear. Amon recognized it. It was Yun Numna. Looking around, Aman saw that no one else reacted. He was probably the only one who had heard Inanna's words. What a brilliant message transmission magic! Aman didn't know where Inanna was and couldn't answer her. He couldn't help but feel a little strange. He had to pretend that nothing had happened and continued to follow the team. Since Yun Numna had spoken, there must be something else. Aman decided to listen to her. Sure enough, Yun Numna's voice came again, as if it was directly in his head. My little Aman, you're a lost sheep in my flock. It took me a long time to find you. You must be curious about who I am, right? If you want to know, please ask your friend to leave and find me in the tribe of the Highlanders alone. The giants have left. I'll wait for you there. I'll tell you what happened and what fate awaits you. It seemed that she wanted Aman to send Madanzo away and return to the Highlanders alone to find her. It seemed that she wanted to tell Aman something very important, but she didn't say when. When Aman wanted to hear more, Yun Numna was silent. The main road came into sight. There was a carriage waiting for them at the crossroads. They had left the mountains. Prince Binat heaved a sigh of relief. He said to Princess Sisela, who was sitting on a pole, "It's the kingdom's great fortune that you were able to escape unscathed. However, those barbaric tribes dared to kidnap you. If they don't receive severe punishment, they can still enjoy the extortion. This is a kind of indulgence and encouragement for their evil behavior. In the future, you'll face more threats when you travel around the kingdom. Therefore, they must be punished severely. As for how to deal with them, Your Highness, please tell me." Princess Sisela waved her hand and said, "Dear Binat, thank you for your help and warning. I'll deal with them. Before I punish them, I'll show them the kindness of the kingdom. I'll give them a chance to atone for their sins and repent." As they spoke, they came to the main road. They saw the two warriors guarding the carriage looking back nervously. Princess Sisela and the others had come from the mountain path. Only now did they notice that the Highlanders had also come down the mountain. Usser was leading a group of tall and strong warriors. They were not in a fighting stance, but in a welcoming stance. They were standing not far behind the carriage. How dare he come down the mountain and come to this place? Nobody was afraid of them now. They could fight to the death and Princess Sisela would be able to escape safely. The warriors drew their weapons and got ready for battle. Mayor Titch shouted, "Usser, how dare you come down the mountain? Are you here to plead guilty?" To everyone's surprise, Usser was really here to confess his crimes. His answer shocked everyone. The leader of the allied tribes led the giants and knelt down together. "We are here to confess our crimes. The barbarians in the mountains have not been educated by the kingdom. We besieged the noble princess just for some daily necessities. This is a serious crime. We are aware of our mistakes, and we ask for the kind princess forgiveness." What the hell was going on? Prince Binat's attendant, the Mage Elliot, said, "Your Highness, we can't let them go so easily. We can't encourage and condone such crimes." Chapter 69. Notice of book activities and asking for monthly votes. In recent years, I have been obsessed with sharing the stories in my novels with my fellow readers. Every day, I am immersed in the plots and characters of the story world. It seems that I have neglected something that many people think I should be doing, but I have no regrets. Updating my writing every day is what I am most willing to do, and what I am devoting myself to doing. Apart from writing, my fellow readers have been very enthusiastic about communicating with each other, and I have organized many activities. Unfortunately, time and energy are limited, and I have not been able to have more exchanges and discussions. After finishing Earthmaster, and before the release of Dubhe, I traveled to Nanjing, Chengdu, and other places, drinking with my fellow readers whom I have only heard of for several years, but have never met in person. Even now, I am still reminiscing about it. It is a pity that I was in a hurry at that time. In order to celebrate the release of the new book, a series of book friend activities will continue. The first wave is Dubhe Cover Design Collection, which will be held this month. The second wave is Beijing Book Friends 5 Pots of Orchid Fragrance Gathering, which will be held on the 24th of July. For those readers who are interested, please refer to the detailed pinned announcement in the book review section. It is already the middle of the month that my new book has been on the list. Normally, I do not wish to disturb your reading, so I am not asking for many votes. But as mentioned before, the purpose of the list is to let more people who like this book have more opportunities to read it. I would like to use this single chapter to sincerely ask for monthly votes from all my fellow readers. I hope that everyone will support me with your monthly votes. Many thanks. Young Master Su, Xingji. Chapter 70. The tone of a deity. Princess Sisela made a gesture, and the warrior put down the pole. She walked down and said to Usher and the others, I can forgive you if it's just for myself. But you must be punished severely for what you've done. I'd like to give you a chance to turn over a new leaf. It's also a punishment. If you're willing to accept it, I won't send an army to annihilate you. Usher knelt down and answered, We sincerely repent. We're willing to accept your punishment and teachings, Your Highness. Princess Sisela stood there, her frail figure exuding an indescribable majesty. She said slowly, In order to uphold the law of the kingdom, you will be banished from the city of Kish. You will have to leave your villages and burn down your houses and everything in your tribe. You will never commit the same crime again. This was a harsh condition, but it could not be refused. Even if the giants refused to do it themselves, the army of the city would do it. Usher answered without hesitation, All the tribes here will burn down their villages in the mountains and move to a faraway place. The princess nodded with satisfaction. She pressed one hand on her chest and pointed to the clouds with the other, In the name of Marduk, you and your people will follow the teachings of the kingdom of Babylon. You will offer sacrifices to the god and pledge loyalty to the kingdom. No matter where you move to, you will build a temple of Marduk at the place where you stay. You will receive guidance from the god. Hearing this, everyone next to them was stunned. Building a shrine as a sacrifice to the great Marduk was something no one could refute. However, there was a practical problem in the secular world. No matter which kingdom a temple was built in, it had to be approved by the government and appointed a priest. The priest of the temple was also one of the local governors and had the status of a noble of the kingdom. Prince Banut was about to interrupt, but Mayor Tich whispered something in his ear. The prince nodded and said nothing more. Usher had told Tich that he was a second-level mage and that there was a record in the main Marduk shrine in Babylon City. It seemed that it was true. If that was the case, it was in line with the conditions the princess had mentioned. However, the appointment of a priest of the kingdom was a bit unreasonable. How could he get such a reward for kidnapping a princess? Princess Sisela seemed to be aware of Prince Banut's doubts. She continued, To build an official shrine and appoint priests, you need the kingdom's approval. This is a reward for you. But do not misunderstand, I have a difficult and dangerous mission for you. If you can complete it, not only will you atone for your sins, but you will also be rewarded by the kingdom. Usher raised his head and said, May I ask what mission your highness wants us to complete? Since my clansmen and I have confessed, we will sincerely accept our punishment and serve you and the kingdom. Princess Sisela walked up to Usher and pushed aside the warriors who tried to block her way. Her bravery was admirable. She took out a scroll wrapped in velvet from her bosom and handed it to Usher. The dangerous mission is your punishment. Everything is written in this scroll. You will be forgiven and rewarded after you complete the mission. Take it. Bring your people and burn down the villages before sunrise tomorrow. Leave no one behind. Usher respectfully raised his hands above his head to receive the scroll. He then stood up and lowered his head. Yes, sir. He led the giants away, leaving the crowd dumbfounded. Everyone knew that as soon as the princess returned to the city, the army would come to annihilate the giants. But running away on their own was completely different from accepting the princess's punishment. The princess had ordered them to burn down the villages and move before sunrise tomorrow, but the army would not arrive so soon. This was the majesty of Princess Sisela. She was besieged by the giants, but with her courage and charm, she made the barbarians obey her orders and accept their punishment willingly. This was an achievement worthy of admiration and worship. It was unknown who was the first to start cheering, but soon after, the cheers became one. Everyone was praising the princess. Perry was very satisfied. This was supposed to be a play. Although it did not go according to plan, the last scene was a success. No one knew what mission Princess Sisela had given to the giants, but it was not appropriate to ask. The crowd escorted the princess back to the town of Arcade. Princess Sisela and Prince Binut had come to the small town at the same time, and the warriors of the town had become the heroes of the kingdom. This was a glory that had never been seen in Arcade for 100 years. This day was destined to be a grand festival. People celebrated spontaneously. Excited cheers and songs could be heard in every corner of the town. More than half of the daily necessities in the town had been collected overnight. If they were not replenished as soon as possible, it would affect the residents' ability to survive the winter. As for the farm tools and livestock, they had to be compensated before spring. Otherwise, it would affect the next year's farming. Princess Sisela generously expressed that she would take care of everything. She immediately sent an envoy to the city of Kish with a list of necessities and returned them to the residents of Arcade. Although the necessities of the giants were numerous, they were not expensive. They were only worth a few dozen parangons. If they were in a big city, they would be able to purchase them in no time. In addition, Princess Sisela provided the list of all the warriors who had participated in the rescue to the city of Kish. Mayor Tich was promoted to 2 ranks. Although Tich was still the mayor, his position was already comparable to that of an official in a city-state. Apart from the lord of the city, each city-state also had its own financial department, archives department, justice department, agriculture department, and other departments to manage the government affairs. The officers of each department were called financial officer, clerk, justice officer, property officer, etc. The deputy officers of each department were at the same level as Tich. This was just the beginning. With Princess Sisela's appreciation and support, Mayor Tich had a bright future ahead of him. There were a few heroes in the rescue team who deserved special rewards. Binut and his entourage did not need to be rewarded, as that was the business of the royal family. However, Madanzo and Aman had to be rewarded handsomely. Tich cleaned up his house for Princess Sisela, and asked the chief priest to clean up his courtyard for Prince Binut's stay. The place where Princess Sisela would meet and reward the 2 brave warriors was in the shrine of the town, in the side hall with the relief of Goddess Murin. They were called in alone for a cordial audience with Her Highness. First, Aman. After the salute, Princess Sisela gave him a seat. She smiled at him and asked, "My hero, you are Aman, right? May I ask where you are from? The kingdom needs talents like you, and I would like to thank a hero like you." In front of Princess Sisela, beside her stood the mage Perry, and behind him was the sculpture of Murin. Aman felt a little uncomfortable, as if he was being pierced by all kinds of eyes. He bowed and answered, "I'm a hunter from the deep mountains. I practice body arts to catch prey, so I'm used to traversing the wilderness. This time, Mayor Tich recruited me to rescue Her Highness, and the giants were convinced by Your Majesty. I'm ashamed that I didn't do much." Princess Sisela waved her hand, "Don't say that. I wouldn't have come back safe and sound without your protection. What kind of reward do you want? As long as it's within my power, I'll try my best to grant it." Perry placed 2 plates in front of Aman, one with 2 parangons and the other with 40 gold coins. He said calmly, "These are not your reward, but the gratitude of the city. I don't know if it's more convenient for you to use parangons or gold coins. You can take any plate you like." Aman did not stand on ceremony. After thanking him, he reached out and took the 40 gold coins. Perry looked a little confused, but he didn't say anything. Princess Sisela was still looking at him with a smile. "My brave warrior Aman, you haven't told me what you want. Amon shook his head. I accepted the mayor's offer of my own free will. I don't need any extra reward from you. Princess Sisela shook her head. No, you must accept it. Perry reminded him, Amon, this isn't just about you. If you don't accept the princess's gratitude, what will happen to the other warriors? If the princess doesn't thank the brave warrior who saved her, what will the people of the kingdom say? It's about the princess's reputation. You must accept it. Princess Sisela smiled. You don't have to be so strict, Perry. Amon is just a hunter in the mountains. He doesn't know many things. Then he said to Amon with a pleasant expression, My brave warrior, I sincerely want to thank you. Please tell me, what is it that you want the most in your heart? Amon raised his head and looked into her eyes. Thank you for your generosity, my beautiful princess. If you must, I can tell you. Not long ago, I went to the capital and saw your fiancé, Gilgamesh, entering the city with gifts. He gave you 3 tendons and 12 tusks of humbaba. It's said that they are the best weapons for warriors. If I can do more for you in the future, I'd like to receive 1 tendon and 1 tusk. Perry's face turned angry. This bumpkin warrior's request was too much. He scolded, That's a gift from the princess's fiancé. How can you ask for it? Amon quickly explained, I don't want the princess to give it to me now. I want to wait until the day I can do more for you in the future. When I can do more for you and earn your gratitude, I hope you will accept my request. Since you have asked, this is what I want. I don't want anything else. Princess Sisela stared at Amon blankly for a while. Finally, she waved her hand and smiled, Perry, don't be angry. He's telling the truth. Amon, I promise you that one day in the future, when you deserve this kind of gratitude for what you have done, I will give you one of Humbaba's tendons and one of his tusks, and I will also explain to Gilgamesh what happened. You may leave now. Let Madanzo come in. Amon bowed and was about to leave when the princess called him again, Amon, I've heard that you're a 5th-level warrior. It's a pity that I didn't get to see you in action. Can you show me? As she spoke, Perry handed him a short knife. It was an ordinary table knife used to cut meat. It was rude to use a weapon in front of the princess. It was also offensive to use a weapon without her permission. Amon took the knife and retreated to the door. He swung it sideways. The knife glowed with a faint light and the sound of air exploding came from the void. Then, he quickly put away the knife and carefully placed it back on the table. Perry nodded with satisfaction, it's indeed 5th-level body arts. Thank you. You may leave now. After Amon left, Perry said doubtfully, it seems that he's not that mage. Body arts and magic can't be practiced at the same level. Even if he has experienced the second awakening, he can only learn some low-level auxiliary magic. The one who sent the signal in the mountains that night must be at least a 6th-level mage. Could it be Madanzo? Princess Sisela also smiled, it doesn't look like Amon. Didn't you test him? He took the gold instead of the parangons. That's not the habit of a mage. What an interesting man. He dared to look me in the eye when he spoke, but he didn't feel uncomfortable at all. He asked for the parangons in such a calm manner, just like a god. Perry sneered, he's just a country bumpkin. You don't have to be angry with him, Your Highness. Princess Sisela smiled, I'm not angry. I just think he's an interesting man. When Madanzo came in, Princess Sisela straightforwardly asked him to show off his skills as a 4th-level warrior. Madanzo took the knife, waved it in the air, and handed it back to Perry. When the gold and parangons were served, Madanzo took the parangons without hesitation, for it was more convenient to carry them around. When Princess Sisela asked him what he wanted most, Madanzo thought for a long while and then knelt down, to tell you the truth, Your Highness, I am a resident of Babylon City. My great-grandfather was a 6th-level mage in Marduk's shrine. But over the years, my family has lost its glory. In my generation, we have not only lost our territory and hereditary titles, but also lost our noble status. The last wish of our ancestors is that our descendants can reclaim our family's glory. Please tell me what I should do, Your Highness. Princess Sisela looked at Madanzo and smiled happily. Although I don't have any real power, as a princess of the kingdom, I can bestow upon you the status of a noble. You have made such a great contribution. All you need to do is to inform me when I return to the capital. From now on, you are Lord Madanzo. You can be exempted from taxes. But you will have to wait until I return to the capital to officially become a noble. As for the hereditary titles and territories of your ancestors, it won't be easy to restore them, unless you can make real contributions to the kingdom in the future. Madanzo said gratefully, yes, I understand. As long as my noble status can be restored, Your Highness, it will be enough. From now on, I will have to rely on myself. Princess Sisela asked again, you can follow my caravan back to Babylon City, or you can take the document I signed to the governor of the archives department. I won't be staying in this town for long. I will leave by the city of Kish the day after tomorrow. Brave warrior, will you escort me all the way to the capital? You are the witness of this incident. I wish to bring you back to the capital. Madanzo answered, I am very willing to follow you back to the capital, Your Highness. But I have an appointment with a friend, and we happen to pass by the town of Arcade. I need my friend's permission to leave without permission, or I will be breaking my promise. Princess Sisela blinked her eyes and said, oh, your friend is Amon. Then you can discuss it with him and tell him it is my idea. I will leave the day after tomorrow. You can follow me when you decide. When Madanzo was about to leave, Princess Sisela stopped him again and asked, my lord, how did you meet Amon? And how did you become friends? He claimed to be a hunter in the mountains. How did he meet you? Madanzo was a little embarrassed, but he answered cautiously, I don't mind if you laugh at me, Your Highness. I used to travel to the mountains in the Euphrates Valley, trading with the dwarfs who are good at smelting. I earned some money to support my family. That's where I met Amon. Perry was interested, is Amon a dwarf too? Madanzo answered, no. I was attacked by a wild beast in the mountains and almost lost my life. He happened to pass by and saved me. That's how we met. Princess Sisela's eyes lit up. She rose to her feet and said, my lord, if you're on good terms with the dwarves, I have a glorious mission for you. You may even have the chance to restore your family's title and territory. Madanzo raised his head excitedly, yes, I am. I'm sworn friends with the chieftain of a large dwarf tribe. What glorious mission would you like to give me, Your Highness? Princess Sisela was not in a hurry to answer. She waved her hand and said, when you return to the capital, you can come to me directly and tell me your name. It would be even better if you could come with me. You can leave now and settle your own affairs first. After Madanzo left, Perry frowned and said, it seems that he is not the mage. He is indeed a fourth-level warrior. Someone is spying on us in the dark. We must be careful and return to the capital as soon as possible. Your plan is beneficial to the kingdom. Don't worry about the king finding out about it. But before the plan is carried out, your political enemies must not know about it. Princess Sisela nodded solemnly, maybe he's a court mage sent by the king to protect me in secret. He's both a guard and a supervisor. Pay attention to him and see if you can find him. We'll pretend we don't know anything for now. Perry asked again, you sent Usher to lead the giants to carry out the plan. Are you also planning to use this Madanzo to mobilize the dwarfs? We've just met him. I'm not sure if he's reliable. Chapter 71. Perry mused, though the cavemen are not as strong as the highland giants, I heard that they are very agile. Some of the larger tribes are good at craftsmanship. They are born craftsmen, which is very useful for building a city. The more preparation we have, the more pawns we can use in the future. Madanzo should keep an eye out for this. I didn't expect to find something unexpected here. While Princess Sisela and Peri were chatting in private, in another courtyard of the town, two other people were also having a private conversation. Gakate turned to Prince Banut, "Your Highness, don't you think it's a little strange?" Banut nodded. "The giants are asking for the materials for moving, which means they have planned this long ago. These people are so strong that they can carry heavy materials through the mountains. They besieged Princess Sisela and demanded these materials from the town. Her Highness seems to know what they are planning." Gakate thought for a while. Usher led the crowd to accept the princess's mission. "It's as if everything was planned. Your Highness, should we send someone to follow the highland giants to see where they are moving to and what they are planning?" Banut shook his head. "They are long gone. It's impossible to catch up with them in the deep mountains. We just need to mind our own business. No matter what the others are planning, we shouldn't act rashly." "Gakate, I know what you are thinking. But you don't have to say it out loud." Seeing that the prince had seen through his thoughts, Gakate smiled bitterly. "Then I won't say more. It's good that your Highness knows what to do." This time, the princess was able to successfully escape, or rather, we did not get involved in the chaotic battle. It was all because of one person's efforts. Banut also smiled. "Tich Sho, the mayor of Arcade, is indeed a talented man. I can see that Princess Sisela is trying to win him over. I think we should thank him for that. I'll go to the city of Kish and ask the mayor to recommend him to be the deputy director of the finance department. Though I can't ask the mayor directly, it shouldn't be a problem for me to recommend him." "So you're not going to the Euphrates River to see the battlefield?" asked Gakate. Banut said, "The battlefield is right there. You can go whenever you want. Since our identities have been revealed, let's deal with the matter at hand first and escort the princess back to the capital. She will also have to pass through the city of Kish. I think the princess wants to invite Tich to her own city-state to take care of government affairs, and I'll promote him in my own city-state. I think Tich would be more willing." At this point, he frowned and said, "The two warriors, Madanzo and Amon, are real warriors and very capable. They walked further than us, but they were able to get to the designated position in the dark of the night. We can't underestimate them. After all, they fought side by side. This is a good opportunity to show that they are close to the people. Treat them to a meal today." Gakate nodded and said, "All right, I'll immediately order people to prepare a banquet and send someone to invite them." Prince Banut suddenly remembered something and said, "Not long ago, I heard from Uruk that a sorcerer killed one of Humbaba's rebellious descendants while crossing the river. Gilgamesh and Enkidu used this as an excuse to kill Humbaba. Send someone to Uruk on horseback and ask the boatman in private what the sorcerer's staff looked like." "Was it a tree branch?" Gakate was surprised. "Do you suspect that Amon is the sorcerer?" Banut explained, "Under the leadership of a brilliant mage like you, we managed to cross the plateau at night." "What about them?" "It's just my intuition that Amon is the sorcerer. As for the truth, we'll know once we ask him." "If it's him, are you going to expose his identity?" asked Gakate. Banut shook his head. "I'm just curious. I know what's going on. Gilgamesh didn't make things difficult for him when he was on the ferry. And this time in Arcade, he cooperated with us to save Princess Sisela. Why should we make things difficult for him?" When Amon and Madanzo returned to the inn, they told each other about their meeting with Princess Sisela. They were glad that the sorcerer's identity had not been exposed. Amon smiled and said to Madanzo, "I'm glad to see you recovering from your pain. You're so excited and enthusiastic now. Congratulations on regaining your noble status. But you look a little infatuated. You've been staring at Princess Sisela the whole way." Madanzo answered awkwardly, "Ammonius, what are you talking about? I only admire and worship Princess Sisela. From now on, she's my idol." Amon patted his shoulder and said, "Good, very good. Follow your idol back to Babylon City the day after tomorrow." Madanzo hurriedly explained, "Amon, you're my only god. I only admire Princess Sisela. Of course, I'll follow your guidance and follow you." Amon said, "I know what you're thinking. Princess Sisela is charming and she's repaid you. It's only human nature that you're willing to serve her. It's not that you want to leave, it's that I want you to follow Princess Sisela back to the capital. We plan to part ways after crossing the Euphrates River. I brought you along because I was worried that something might happen to you. I'll teach you the way of cultivation in the future. With your noble status, it'll be more convenient for you to practice. You should go back to the capital first. Take care of your own business and come find me at Link's place. Let's set a deadline. 1 year from today, we will meet in Link's tribe. As they were discussing the time and place for their next meeting, someone came to inform them that Prince Banat had invited them to a banquet. Madanzo asked in a low voice, "The prince is inviting us to dinner. Shall we go?" Aman answered, "We've fought side by side. It's not a big deal to have dinner together. Come, let's go." That night, Aman taught Madanzo the rest of the cultivation of the power of two sides until he reached the peak of the 6th level magic and 6th level body arts. Then he left the town of Arcade. During the banquet, Prince Banat asked them where they were going. Madanzo said that he was going back to the capital with Princess Sisela, while Aman said that he was going to a faraway place. Since it had already been delayed, they had to leave immediately. Aman left the town at night and headed west towards the Euphrates River. He walked for a long time on the mountain road. After making sure that no one was following him, he turned back to the north. As he climbed higher and higher in the mountains, he returned to the tribe of the giants on the plateau. It was a long and dangerous road. Aman hurried as fast as he could. By the next morning, he arrived at the plateau where he had negotiated with Usser. The tent made of snow leopard skin was long gone. There was no one around. Where was the tribe of the Highlanders? Aman looked around and saw faint black smoke rising from 3 different directions behind the distant mountains. The giants had burned down their village. Which village was Numna waiting for him? While Aman was hesitating, he suddenly heard a series of bell-like laughter behind him. Numna's voice came from not far away. "My little Aman, handsome hunter, brave hero, you've kept your promise and found this place as promised." Aman had been using detection magic to keep an eye on the surroundings, but he didn't notice Numna's arrival. This meant that Numna's magic was much better than his. Aman turned around and saw Numna standing a dozen steps away with a faint smile on her face. She was wearing a long golden dress and her long hair was hanging loosely over her shoulders. The long dress had a different luster, like starlight or water. It wrapped around her beautiful body and made her look very attractive. Aman leaned on his staff and bowed to her. "You said you'd come back for me, and you've come." Numna covered her mouth. "Oh, Aman, you're my savior. Why are you talking to me so politely? Don't you know who Numna is? Why did you get involved in Princess Sisela's trouble?" Aman told the truth. Saving Princess Sisela is not a big deal. The princess has her own ways to escape. But I saw you with my own eyes when you left with Gilgamesh. I thought you were his fiancée, Princess Sisela. Inanna let out a burst of happy laughter. Her skirt swayed as she laughed. "So that's what happened, my little Aman. You are so cute. People always beg for my redemption, but no one has ever saved me. You're the first one who said that and did it. It's a misunderstanding, but I'm very happy. I'll never forget your kindness." Aman hurriedly explained, "No, you've helped me before. Enkidu knows that I'm a sorcerer, but he told me that it was because of your protection that I was able to pass through Uruk safely. You made up for the loss on the ferry. He didn't make things difficult for me." His expression was solemn as he spoke. He did not approach Numna. Inanna put away her smile, looked at him and sighed softly. "From the looks of it, it seems like you already know my identity." Aman replied respectfully, "Yes, I guessed it. But I want to ask you personally. Are you Murin, the former patron saint of Duk?" Numna stared at him for a long time without any expression. Gradually, a smile appeared on her face. "My little Aman, you're really a clever lamb. How did you guess it?" I'm not only the patron saint of Duk, but also the patron saint of the people of Duk. You're the lost lamb in my flock. I've finally found you. Aman replied, I've seen your statues since I was a child. But when I saw you in person, I didn't even dare to think about it. When I saw your statue in the Temple of Arcade, I suddenly realized why I felt that you looked so familiar at first. Later, when I found out that you weren't Princess Sisela, I guessed that you might be Murin. But the conclusion was so shocking that I couldn't believe it unless you confirmed it yourself. Yu Numna nodded with a smile. Now that you've confirmed it, why don't you salute to the patron saint? Aman didn't kneel immediately. He thought for a moment and asked, Duk is no longer here. Maybe it's not your fault, but I have a question. Yu Numna was stunned. Ask away. Aman asked, the oracle that almost cut off one of my fingers, was it left by you? Yu Numna answered calmly, I left it. It's the oracle of the patron saint of Duk. Duk is my realm. Although the gods can see everything clearly, it is impossible for them to pay attention to everyone and everything in the realm all the time. You almost had a finger cut off in front of my shrine. I didn't know about it until after the fact. Why, do you hate me because of this? Aman asked again, since the gods can see everything clearly, do you know what I'm thinking about? Inanna looked at him, her eyes seemed to be more and more interested, but she still answered calmly, as a god, I know your emotions, anger, sorrow, and joy, and every emotion hidden in your heart. I also know your body's reaction, even the slightest trace. I can tell if you're lying, but I can't directly know what you're thinking. To show your loyalty to the patron saint, tell me yourself. Aman replied, I don't hate you. On the contrary, I salute you for the oracle, because someone explained to me the origin of the divine spirit. Otherwise, why should I kneel to the patron saint who doesn't protect the people of Duk anymore? He knelt down and kissed the soil on the ground. This was the most solemn etiquette on the continent. In the past, when his drunkard father brought Aman to the shrine to see Murin, he also saluted like this. Yu Numna's expression was a little awkward. Her expression changed a few times, but finally, she showed a charming smile. She walked over and reached out her hand to help Aman up from the ground. She naturally held his arm. Her soft and elastic chest was pressed against his arm, just like the two of them used to stroll in the grassland. The goddess smiled and said, My Aman, this is not the shrine, and there is no one around. You don't have to salute me like that. We used to hold hands like this. Doesn't it feel good? You're still the hunter in the mountains, and I'm still the shepherdess. Who said it didn't feel good? It was good, very good. Aman held Yu Numna's arm and said, But you are a god after all. I find it incredible. If this scene was seen by others, they would be so surprised that their jaws would drop to the ground. Aman was holding a goddess's arm and talking calmly. Even the world-shaking hero Gilgamesh was no better than this. But Aman was just an ordinary boy from the countryside. Yu Numna was very satisfied with Aman's performance. She naughtily rubbed her cheek against his shoulder and pointed to the front, You still salute me, so I am still the guardian of you and your people. I called you here today because I have something important to tell you. Look at this. Following the direction of her finger, Aman sensed a strong wave of magic power. In the open space not far away, the light was distorted and a strange space appeared. There were lights and shadows constantly flashing in the space. Flood, monstrous water converged into a rolling turbid stream, spreading over the hills, the fields, and the desert. It was a miniature display of the terrain. Judging from the surrounding mountains above the water, it was the landscape around Duk. The scene in the light and shadow was obviously accelerated. The flood gradually calmed down and formed a huge lake in the area around Duk. The water gradually receded, exposing the damp muddy ground in the high places. Muddy swamps were everywhere. The town of Duk no longer existed. In the charcoal forest to the west, strange rocks, shrubs and ponds dotted the large swamp. It was impossible to pass through. The water stopped receding after a certain amount because it often rained. The climate had changed. To the north of this large swamp was the Saya Plateau, and to the east were the mountains of the Euphrates Valley. They were still natural barriers. One of the tributaries of the Euphrates River was cut off by landslides during the flood. It flowed through the swamp to the Saya Desert in the south and converged into a large inland lake in a low-lying area. To the south of this lake was still the desolate Gobi Desert, far away from the empire of Igut and the kingdom of Babylon. To the north of the lake, grass gradually grew. Patches of grassland appeared in the swamp like islands. Looking around, it was still a forbidden land surrounded by the swamp. But near the lofty mountains of the Euphrates Valley, patches of fertile land, like islands, had emerged from the surface of the water. The light and shadows stopped here. This should be the actual topography of the land. Yun Namna snapped her fingers and the image disappeared. She held Amon's arm in her arms and asked, "Do you see what it is?" Amon recovered from the amazing scene and answered after a short breath, "The terrain around Duk after the flood." Yun Namna nodded, "That's what your hometown looks like now. It is still changing slowly. In 2 or 3 years, it will become 1,000 miles of fertile land surrounded by mountains, plateaus, swamps and deserts. It is still a swamp. Large groups of people can't enter it. Only a few patches of fertile land near the Euphrates Valley can be planted to build villages and towns." "Amon, do you know where the Highlanders went? What did Princess Sisela send them to do?" Amon seemed to have woken up from a dream. "I see. They crossed the highlands, crossed the Euphrates River and passed through the mountains to build a new home. Princess Sisela asked them to submit to the kingdom of Babylon and build the Marduk shrine in their new home. She is expanding the territory of the Hittite kingdom." Inanna added with satisfaction, "This is the only way to enter the fertile land. The highland giant tribe can carry heavy supplies and travel long distances in the mountains. They are not afraid of danger and arrive first. They can quietly build a village in an isolated, uninhabited wilderness. In the future, they may even build a city-state." Amon exclaimed, "She is indeed a princess. She is so far-sighted. But isn't she afraid of provoking a dispute with the Hittite kingdom?" Chapter 72. Amon's request. Amon was silent for a long time. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Finally, he nodded and said, "Of course I want to. After all, that is my hometown. But I am the only one left in Duk. What's the point of doing that?" Yun Namna hugged Amon's arm tighter. "Of course it's meaningful. It's meaningful for both you and me. That is the land of Duk and my realm. You can build a kingdom and become a king. Our children and grandchildren will inherit the kingdom from generation to generation. And I will become the kingdom's chief god. You are not alone. There are still survivors of Duk living in faraway places. You have to lead them back to their hometown and build their own kingdom." Amon was pleasantly surprised. "I'm not the only survivor of Duk. Who else is still alive? Are my father and Mayor Dusty among them?" Yun Namna said, "Everyone in the town died. Your father and the mayor were not spared. But there are still a group of survivors who have become slaves in a foreign land. If you want to lead them back to their hometown and build a kingdom, I will guide you on how to find them and what to do. I have an agreement with Enrol. As long as you do not challenge him, he will not hurt you or stop you from returning to your hometown. This is what I can do as the protector." Amon said, "Challenge Enrol? How can I do that?" Of course, he did not have the ability to challenge the gods, at least not yet. But maybe in the future. The mission Crazy Ol gave him was to unravel the secrets of the gods, find the way to become a god, and even become a god himself. Of course, he could not say these words out loud. Yun Namna smiled, "So you don't have to worry about this. All you have to do is to lead the descendants of Duk back to their hometown and build your own kingdom. The gods will not interfere in these things directly. You have to do everything by yourself. But I can guide and help you." Amon asked, "Can you tell me where they are now? I want to find them." Yun Namna gently shook her head. No, it's useless to tell you now. I won't tell you unless I see that you can do it and are working hard to realize your dream. I heard that you have a good relationship with the caveman tribe. I also know that you have been there for a long time. You can actually follow Princess Sisela's example and guide the cavemen to move out of the mountains and build a village there. Then you can train and equip them to protect their homeland. Aman frowned. Will they be willing? Yun Namna giggled. You're smart, but sometimes you're silly and adorable. Who would be willing to continue living in the treacherous mountains when there's fertile land? They'll only be grateful for your help and guidance. Aman asked again, but the highland giants have already gone there. Won't there be any conflict? Yun Namna explained, there are thousands of miles of fertile land there. A few tribes are like drops of water in the ocean. You can choose where you want to establish your foothold, there's no need to fight for a place. At present, it's still a dangerous place surrounded by swamps. The only way to reach the island is from the direction of the Euphrates Valley. The cavemen living in the mountains will not attract any attention when they come to the plains. It's the best time for them to establish their homeland. Otherwise, Princess Sisela wouldn't have asked the highland giants to do so. I can also tell you that the surviving descendants of Duk will retain their original title deed. They will be the rightful owners of the most fertile land. Aman pondered for a moment before continuing, you said that the terrain is still changing slowly. How long will it take for it to become a fertile land? At least 3 years, Yun Namna answered. How long will it take for the original site of Duk to be habitable? Asked Aman. 1 year, answered Yun Namna. Finally, Aman nodded, then the cavemen will have at least 2 years to build their new homes. Life in the mountains is really hard for them. I should help them. Thank you for your advice. 1 year later, I'll guide the cavemen out of the mountains and settle down in Duk. Yun Namna smiled happily, good. I'll wait for your news. You'll guide them to build the shrine of their patron. I'll tell them everything. I believe they'll make the right choice, said Aman. But I believe that offerings to the gods must come from the bottom of their hearts. No one can force them to do so. Yun Namna tilted her head and looked at Aman with a strange look in her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Aman answered honestly, this is what I think in my heart. You just told me that as a god, you can tell if I'm lying or not, and I should tell you the truth. I figured this out after I met Gilgamesh, because of what happened to Humbaba. Yun Namna looked at him, as if she could see through his heart. After a while, she smiled and said, my little Aman, I should thank you for coming to the giants' tribe to save me because you mistook me for Princess Sisela. I'll tell you the whereabouts of the survivors of Duk in the future. But now, you can make another request. As long as it's within my power, I won't refuse. Aman turned his head and looked into her eyes. He asked seriously, really? Of course. I'm your patron, said Yun Namna. I want to ask you about the secret of the gods. Can a mortal become a god? If so, how? Asked Aman. Yun Namna let go of his hand and took a step back. Good heavens, Aman, you're really bold. Gilgamesh asked the same question, but he didn't get an answer. This is impossible. Judging from her tone, it was hard to tell whether she was telling Aman that a mortal can't become a god, or she was telling him can't. Aman didn't expect to get an answer from Yun Namna, so he said again, then I only have one thing to ask of you. I heard that people will go to the underworld after death. I also want to see my father and the survivors of Duk, even if it's only their souls. These were the 2 things Aman cared about most. Unraveling the secret of the gods was his responsibility and promise, and seeing his father was his deepest desire. A young man who had left his hometown suddenly heard that it was destroyed by a disaster. Not being able to see his family for the last time was his greatest regret and pain. Since he could make a request to the gods, how could he not ask? Yun Namna's expression changed. She finally lost her smile and looked at Aman without saying anything for a long time. Aman took a few steps back and knelt down again. my patron, the past and present patron of Duk, can you fulfill this request of mine? Yun Namna stood up straight, her skirt hanging down, and her tone changed. She was like a majestic goddess. Not everyone will go to the underworld after death. The so-called underworld is not what mortals think it is. I do know where the souls of many Duk residents go, but I advise you to change your mind. It's not a place you can go, and you may not be able to come back. Aman asked again, can you do it? Yun Namna nodded expressionlessly, yes, I can. Aman continued, there are many things I'm not sure if I can complete. For example, you asked me to lead the descendants of Duk back to our hometown to rebuild our homeland. I can only try my best to do it. But this is my most urgent wish now. May I ask, patron, is it possible for me to come back even if I may not be able to come back? Yun Namna, yes, it's possible that I may not come back, but it's also possible that I can come back. If you want me to help you come back again, that's another request. Aman, I dare not make any additional requests to the gods, but if you are really the patron of the Duk people, please let me enter the underworld to see my father and Mayor Dusty. If you can protect me and help me return to the human world, I will do my best to rebuild Duk, to make it a new home and even a kingdom. I will guide my people to rebuild your shrine, and sincerely worship you as the eternal patron. Yun Namna was silent for a long time, as if she was thinking about something. She looked a little hesitant. Aman knelt on the ground silently, waiting for the answer of the goddess. After a long time, Yun Namna finally sighed and said, the underworld is in the human world. I will send you there. As for whether the person you want to see is there or not, I'm not sure. I will also try my best to bring you back. If you are unfortunate enough to be trapped in the underworld, you can find a way to escape. Aman bent down and kissed the soil under Yun Namna's feet, thank you for your blessing. When will we go? Yun Namna, I have to make some preparations. I will wait for you here in 3 days. Come back in 3 days. When Aman raised his head again, the goddess had already disappeared. That night, Madanzo was packing excitedly. In fact, there was not much to pack, but he kept polishing his weapons and armor. They gleamed under the light. The more he looked at them, the happier he became. He was going back to the capital with Princess Sisela the next day. He still remembered how disappointed he was when he left his hometown, but he never thought that he could go back in such a glorious way. At this moment, he suddenly heard someone say from behind, this armor is blessed by magic. It can shake off all the dust with a flick. There's no need to polish it like this. If it was someone else's voice, Madanzo would have pulled out his weapon and jumped to his feet. But this time, he turned around in surprise and said, my Ammonius, why are you back? Aman pointed to the stool next to him and said, sit down and tell me slowly. I forgot something and came back to tell you. I also heard something else that I need to clarify with you. After Aman sat down, Madanzo sat down and asked, what did you forget to tell me? Aman said, the carriage and horses are not mine. A merchant named Leskut Lee from Uruk lent them to me for temporary use. I have to return them to him. Madanzo said, you can take them with you this time. I'm going to town to buy a real warhorse. Although the carriage is good, it's not a knight's warhorse. Aman waved his hand, when you leave, leave the carriage and horses at the inn. Pay them enough to take care of them. I'll come back for them later. Madanzo said, no problem. Is there anything else you want to tell me? Aman's expression turned serious, I'll just mention the carriage in passing. There's one more important thing that you must pay attention to. I heard you tell me about the princess's summons yesterday. She specifically asked if you have a good relationship with the cavemen and might send you on a mission, just like us. Then he leaned over and whispered in Madanzo's ear for a long time. Madanzo looked more and more shocked and nodded repeatedly. After Aman finished, he patted him on the shoulder and said, this is just my guess. If Her Highness really orders you to do this, I don't think you can refuse. But this is related to the gods, so don't make promises. Madanzo let out a long breath and patted his chest. Ammonius, thank you for reminding me. If this really happens, I know what to do. After thinking for a while, he smiled again and whispered, if Lynx tribe really builds a village and a temple, they won't worship any other gods. You are the only god. Ammon gave him a punch. It's fine if you think about it in your heart, but you can't just say it like that. Madanzo stuck out his tongue, of course I understand. Don't worry. Ammon nodded, that's good. We'll meet in Lynx tribe in a year's time. Whether Princess Sicila asks you to do this or not, I'll guide them to the fertile land in the swamp to build a new home. 3 years later, I'll lead the descendants of Duk back to their hometown. The fertile land will be large enough for hundreds of thousands of people to live in. But for now, all this is still a secret. Don't tell anyone, and don't let anyone know what you already know. Madanzo nodded seriously, Ammonius, I'll remember it. I'll do as you say. 3 days later, Ammon came to the plateau again. Yun Namna was already waiting for him. No, Murin was waiting for him. She looked like a goddess today. She was still wearing the same golden dress. Her figure was still as attractive as ever. But her dress was glistening under the sun, as if it was made of flowing metal. She wore a golden crown, a wreath of gold, and in her hand she held a staff that looked like an ivy vine with green leaves. She wore a necklace of celestial stones, the best that could be found in Duk. She wore earrings with pendants that looked like twinkling stars. She wore a pair of golden bracelets on her slender arms, and on her ample bosom, in the bosom of her dress, was a golden flower. This was how Ammon saw her statue in the shrine when he was a child. But the cold celestial statue was not as glorious as the living goddess. He bowed to her, Great Murin, thank you for agreeing to my request. I'm ready to follow you to the underworld. Murin looked at him and shook her head, you don't have to thank me. I'm just thanking you for saving me, because no one has ever done that. I don't have the confidence to bring you back from hell on the spot, so please be mentally prepared. If you get trapped in hell, don't eat anything there, and don't drink a single drop of water. Only by protecting your own soul will you have any hope of escaping. When we meet again in the sun, you can call me Yun Namna. I like this name. Murin asked Ammon to get up and follow her. She told him not to ask any questions along the way. They were walking towards the depths of the Saya Plateau, towards the source of the Euphrates River. The mountains were rugged and steep. With her divine power, she could have carried Ammon and flown quickly. But she didn't. Instead, she asked Ammon to walk behind her, as if she was testing him. Ammon was better than a supreme mage at traversing the wilderness on foot. If it were a supreme mage or a supreme mage, they would have flown directly. But Ammon couldn't fly yet, so he could only walk. He found that no matter how fast he walked, Inanna would always walk a few steps behind him in a leisurely manner, but he would never be able to catch up with her. The goddess didn't stop, didn't rest, didn't look back, and didn't say a word. They walked from noon to night, from night to dawn, from dawn to dusk. If it were someone else, they would have collapsed from exhaustion. Even if they didn't, they would have fallen off the cliff. Ammon didn't have time to stop to eat. He used water magic to condense water droplets in the environment and drank them directly to quench his thirst. He followed the goddess without missing a step. When night fell again, Murin finally spoke, Ammon, this road is very dangerous. I'm surprised that you can hold on until now. But we have to walk for 3 days and 3 nights, you can give up at any time. I promise to take you to the underworld, but you have to be able to reach the gate of the underworld by yourself. If you can't hold on, I won't blame you. If you accidentally fall off the cliff, I will save your life. Consider it as a repayment for your help. It seemed that the goddess didn't want to bring Ammon to the underworld, but she had to agree to his request. She used this method to test him. If Ammon couldn't follow her to the gate of the underworld, then it was no wonder that Murin didn't keep her promise. She moved forward at a speed that Ammon could keep up with if he tried his best. But it was too much to say that they would walk for 3 days and 3 nights. Ammon replied, I understand what you mean. I will do my best to follow you. I won't give up. Murin didn't say anything else. The two kept walking forward without stopping or resting. Their speed didn't change, but the road became more and more dangerous. But it was a place that Amon could reach without flying. Amon gritted his teeth and kept up. He couldn't catch up with the goddess, but he didn't fall behind. On the third day, they came to a strange and desolate plateau. There were no longer any green colors around. Rough rocks were exposed everywhere. The shrubs were short and sparse. Traces of snow could be seen occasionally. The wind was very cold, and it felt like knives when it blew on their faces. After crossing this cold plateau, Murin walked down and entered a narrow and deep valley. The deeper they went, the more humid the air became. There were steep cliffs on both sides, and the valley became narrower and darker. The surroundings were filled with an inexplicable eerie atmosphere. Although it wasn't as cold as it was on the plateau, Amon couldn't help but shiver. Chapter 73. The door to the underworld. Amon nodded. I'm ready, but can I rest for a while? Murin smiled. You must be tired after these 3 days. You can't eat any food or drink any water in the underworld, not even the water droplets condensed by water magic. You really need to rest and make some preparations. I'll come back at dusk. You can't go forward alone, and don't go in by yourself. With that, she disappeared, leaving Amon alone in this gloomy canyon. The light was very dim, and there was no sound nearby, but his ears could always hear some sound in a very distant place, but it was not real. The huge cave formed by the cliffs in front of him was dark, and no one knew how deep and how far it led. It was like a huge mouth that could swallow people at any time. Standing here, all the hair on his body subconsciously stood up, and an indescribable chill went straight into his bones. The boundless fear could not be changed by human will. Who could not be afraid of Yun Namna? She only told Amon not to go forward. The cave seemed to have a strange power that wanted to suck in people's souls. No matter who stood here, they would involuntarily struggle backwards, just wanting to get as far away as possible. The black cliffs on both sides were like a huge shadow pouncing on one's face. There was a kind of oppressive feeling that made people breathless. Once they turned around and retreated, they would involuntarily run faster and faster, never to have the courage to return to this place again. Amon suppressed the surging desire to retreat in his heart. He had a feeling, or perhaps it was just a guess, that Murin did not go far, but was somewhere watching him. She deliberately left him here. As long as he retreated, he was afraid that he would not have the courage to come back alone, and then it would not be considered as the goddess not keeping her promise. It seemed that she really did not want to bring him into the underworld, and created all kinds of tests and obstacles. Amon cleaned up his body among the rocks at the bottom of the cliff, then sat down to rest, took out a secret meat floss from his backpack, made a pot of thick soup, and drank it unhurriedly, not only to satisfy his hunger, but also to eliminate the almost irresistible fear in his heart. The frightening atmosphere in the surrounding environment constantly attacked the depths of his soul. He was indeed prepared. He hid the bone under his ribs. Amon already knew that even a deity like Yun Namna would not be able to sense its existence. Inside the strange space in the bone, there were not only important things that he had to carry with him, but also food and water. If he were to fall into the underworld, it would be enough for him to survive for a long time. Even the god's stones in the staff were all taken out and placed in the bone. After eating, he closed his eyes and began to meditate. However, he felt that the environment was not right. There was an inexplicable force in the cave ahead that was disturbing his soul. It was not that his concentration was not deep enough. On the contrary, the more focused and profound his meditation state was, the clearer and more intense his perception of the power of disturbance was. It seemed to be a kind of magic, but it was not any magic that Amon knew. Crazy Ol's books did not mention it. The area covered by this power was so large that there should be a huge magic formation set up with the help of a special environment or something else. The effect seemed to be able to control and manipulate people's minds, inexplicably plunging people into an unknown, boundless world. The sunlight could not reach here, but he could feel the change of the weather. The shadow of the sun outside the valley was moving westward. The line of sky was getting darker and darker, and the gloomy atmosphere was getting thicker and thicker. When the darkness reached an extreme, the place was no longer dark. Amon opened his eyes. With the help of detection magic, he could see the scenery around him, but it was all black and white. He closed his eyes again and continued to rest, not wasting any chance to recover his strength. After an unknown period of time, as if he was suddenly startled, Amon jumped up from the ground, his eyes widened and his staff clenched. He felt the eerie powers suddenly surge out of the huge cavern in a silent explosion. Something was coming out. Looking up, there was indeed a figure floating out of the cave, wrapped in darkness. At the same time, a voice drilled into Amon's mind, "Who are you? How dare you stop in front of the underworld of Queen Kella?" The voice gave people the feeling of something cold and slippery attached to the bones, making people shudder. But Amon felt a little strange. This person did not seem to be a god or a ghost. He should be a living person. Detection magic could detect his existence. This person did not deliberately hide his breath, and his body was also real, but Amon could not sense anything more. He only felt that this person was unfathomable, and his magic realm was far higher than his. Amon tried to keep his voice calm and not let his voice tremble. He bowed deeply and said, "My name is Amon, and I came here with Murin. I want to enter the underworld to see my dead relatives." The voice suddenly became sharp. "Nonsense, how did Murin come to the realm of King Kella? He is not talking nonsense. I did bring him here. Gatekeeper of the underworld, please inform King Kella." Murin's voice came from behind again, and then she had already appeared, walked past Amon, and walked in front of the gatekeeper of the underworld called Nettie. In this strange dark world, Murin's figure was the only thing with color and light. She was not blended into this gloomy world. Nettie bowed deeply and said, "It is really you, Murin, but your sister will not welcome you into her realm." Murin said coldly, "That is a matter between the gods. You just need to inform the underworld." Nettie bowed again and stepped back, disappearing into the darkness. Muyin's voice sounded in Amon's mind again, "Amon, I deliberately left you alone in this gloomy place. If you cannot protect your soul in this environment, you will also be lost in the underworld. In front of you is the underworld of Anunnaki, the realm of my sister Kella." The voice of the goddess contained a strange message magic. Not only did Amon hear her words, but there was also a series of explanations directly imprinted in his mind. The so-called Anunnaki was not the name of a certain god, but a group of gods, or a divine clan. The gods Amon knew, Anu, Enlil, Marduk, Murin, and the master of the underworld, Kella, all belonged to this divine clan. Murin also vaguely explained another kind of information, such as the legend that Enlil was the uncle of Marduk and the grandfather of Muyun. These were not relatives in the human world, but just a way of expression that mortals could understand. What was really going on was not clear to Amon, and the queen of the underworld, Kella, was really Muyun's sister. The divine realm of the Anunnaki divine clan was very wide, including the vast territories of Assur, Hittite, and Babylon. As for what a divine realm was, Murin did not explain much. The complicated information made Amon a little confused. If he guessed correctly, the reason why Inanna asked him to lead the surviving people of Duk back to their homeland and build a kingdom was to build her own divine realm. In any case, the divine realm of another goddess was in front of him. Maybe he could find some clues. Nettie came back quickly. Like a shadow emerging from the darkness, he came to Murin again and said, "The queen of the underworld allows you to bring people into her divine realm, but you must leave something on you when you pass through each door. This is the rule of the underworld." Murin looked a little resentful and embarrassed. "I know this rule, but I didn't expect that she would do the same thing to me. She's humiliating another god." Nettie said carefully, "I'm just passing on the message. If you don't want to, you don't have to go in." Murin seemed to be irritated. She said proudly, "As a god, I have made a promise. Of course I have to fulfill it. Come with me." Nedi gestured for him to follow. The gatekeeper of the underworld led the way. Aman followed Murin and entered the strange unknown world. When he stepped over the boundary between the cliffs, everything around him disappeared in an instant, as if he had passed through the boundary between the mortal world and the mortal world. It was a boundless darkness. Perhaps it couldn't be described as darkness, because there was nothing to see. Naturally, there was no sense of light in his eyes. Activating detection to the maximum, Aman sensed nothing but Nedi in front of him. He even felt that he had disappeared. The only thing he could see was Murin. She seemed to exist alone in this world of nothingness. After entering the first door, although Aman could not see Nedi, he could sense that he stopped in the darkness not far away. He turned to Murin and said, "Goddess, please take off your crown." The golden crown on Murin's head seemed to be taken away by an invisible hand and disappeared. After that, they continued to move forward. Aman felt as if he was walking in the void, not knowing where he was stepping. There seemed to be no concept of time and space here. He didn't know how long he had walked, but the detection magic suddenly changed, as if he had passed through another invisible barrier. At this time, Nedi stopped again. He turned around and said, "Goddess, please leave your staff." Then the vine in Murin's hand disappeared into thin air. The second door to hell wasn't completely silent. Although one couldn't see or hear anything, making it seem as if one was already dead, one could clearly sense the existence of one's soul in such an environment. Countless thoughts came to Aman's mind from all directions. They were the wishes and desires of all the people in the world. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.